Everybody seems to be either incredibly excited or vilifying AI and saying that it is going to take over everything. It is going to mean you're out of a job. You won't know how to keep up. And I think most people have it wrong. I think in the future, there will be billion-dollar companies made with one person and an army of AI agents underneath it. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think you can make a ton of money with AI. But I think you got to remember that this is not a human. It is a tool for humans. And that is how you win and make more money than ever. Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. And this week, we're going to do something different. I'm going to walk you through how I think AI is making me 2 to 3x more productive, more profitable, more successful, and how it's working so well that I hired a full-time employee, this guy, whose name is Chadwick, to integrate AI into everything we do inside of our business. Let's get into it today. A bunch of tactics about how you can do this exact same thing. You guys ready? Let's do it. All right. First, I want to talk about whisper flow. This is super cool. I don't know about you, but I actually really don't text very often anymore. I almost do all voice to text on my phone. I'm like that annoying person that's always voice to texting. Well, there is this company called Whisper Flow. And basically what it does is it turns your computer into voice to text for anything, except it doesn't suck. When you want to say fuck, you can say fuck. And that actually just shows up on your keyboard, and it doesn't mean duck. It never meant duck. Nobody ever means to say duck, including myself. You can just be a little smarter with your voice to text. And so it's pretty incredible. Right now, all I do on my computer, since I already downloaded Whisper Flow, I think it's like $4 a month or something, you guys. If I wanted to type something out for it, for instance, I would just press FN on my little keyboard, and I would say, okay, I would say, let's say, I would hold down FN, and I would say, hey, I'm right now on the Big Deal podcast, and Codie's saying she can make me a ton of money with AI. Are you absolutely positive about that? Can you please tell me? And then you're going to see what it writes. Well, what's fascinating about this is a couple different things. One, you guys didn't hear me say period, exclamation, quotes, change names. I didn't say any of that. And yet, what did this write? This is so fascinating to me. It says it perfectly. Hold down FN. It capitalizes FN. It does a comma before a quote for hey. It spells the Big Deal podcast right and my name because it's intelligent. It uses contextual learning in order for you to speak it, as opposed to iPhone does not do that. I don't know why. It also has the right punctuation throughout. And I pretty much use this nonstop. I use it also in my email. So I think this makes you anywhere from 200 to 300% faster in how you type. No longer will you actually have to be a quick typer. If you're older, like my dad, who kind of types like this with his little fingers far away from his phone, he in the future won't even need to do that. He'll just hold down FN, say whatever he wants to say, and send it out. When I tell you that I am now the bane of my employees' existence with the amount of stuff I can get done with Slack, I will tell you that is actually true. And one of the fastest ways that I use this Whisper Flow is also via email. So I want to get into my second favorite AI tool right now. This is called Superhuman. And Superhuman I've been on forever. It's an email platform, so it kind of lays on top of whatever your email it is. Doesn't mean you have to get rid of Gmail or Yahoo or whatever the kids use these days. It's just a layer. And you can forward all your emails to it. I forward like 4 or 5 emails to it because I have lots of different variations of my email. And it's brilliant. So what you do is basically you do everything by little commands on your keyboard. And I'm an ex-finance gal, so like I love it. It's called a shortcut. I love a finance shortcut. So you open up this like database in here basically, or this command center, I should say, with Command K. And in it, you can see that you use one letter to do just about everything. If I want to mark something done, I go E. If I want to send a template, well, look, I can compose something and have them say it. If I want to use a snippet is their way of saying template. It saves all my old snippets right here, so I can just insert that. If I want to go to, hey, I don't actually want to prioritize something, I can have custom ones that are exactly and only for me. So I really like this Control K. I also think that it's really important with something like Superhuman. We get inundated by email. And there's a reason why, like, for instance, I don't ever go to LinkedIn anymore. I don't know if you guys do. I don't know if anybody uses their LinkedIn DM inbox. I sure don't. And the reason I think is because there's no ability to curate anymore. And so with this, what I love is I get to inbox zero all the time. And when you get to inbox zero in Superhuman, it's like this beautiful, it's so rewarding. You have like this image that comes across. It's a little field of flowers. Also, it has all my calendar things in it really, really quickly. Those can come on board. I have my assistant go through and clean all of those. It has any invoices and payments. I sort of categorize everything in here. So anyway, I'm a huge fan of Superhuman. They now have AI where they have like intelligent communication. So if I wanted to compose a new email, I'd just press C. Then I could go ham. And if I wasn't going to use FN, which is my favorite now with Wisterflow, and I was going to actually write something, it might be like, hi there, I wanted to, and do you see how it starts to fill in my sentences? So before I'm even finishing it, it's filling out the wanted and to, and so it's allowing me to skip a bunch of words. I wanted to, follow up, and then it gets me on this. Well, that is exactly what I wanted to say next. So anyway, I really like Superhuman. Again, we're not sponsored by any of these people. Also, if you're a founder, this is a little bit of a asterisk side note, their onboarding sequence is so good that I make every one of my portfolio companies look at it. So I highly recommend Superhuman. They also have this thing over at the side, which is kind of cool. See here, like on the side, if you aren't watching this on YouTube, and if you are, you should subscribe because we're going to be coming out with so much good stuff. And we get to bring on better guests when we have more followers who subscribe. So I'd love you to make sure you hit the subscribe button. But on the right-hand side, what it also does is it auto-creates a profile for everybody who's pinging you. So it's like, hey, here's Codie's LinkedIn. Here's Codie's email. Here's Codie's website. Here's Codie's Twitter profile because it knows that that's who I'm emailing right now. I think it's super, super cool. So let's talk about what we do with ChatGPT at my company. Lots of people are doing lots of different things that I think is awesome. But there's a couple things that have been really, really useful for me. First is I created a custom Codie IG content creator. Well, I didn't create it. I had Chadwick create it for me. And these custom GPTs, what they basically do is they're like little smart robots online that keep all of the learnings that you put inside of them, and you can direct them towards one thing, sort of like an operator. So in this instance, this little chat GPT is only for content creation. And I trained it on my voice, everything that's on the internet, all of the things that I've created in order to help me prompt better. So for instance, it auto gives me some prompts up front, but it's like, what are some meme angles for a finance brand? So I might put that in there. And I might say, what are some meme angles for a finance brand? It's going to start talking about it. It's going to create carousels, memes, infographics, cash generating reels. Like, yes, please, in the tone of Codie Sanchez, please create me some finance memes that would be great for Twitter. And then I hit go. And what's kind of cool about this is right now, ChatGPT is creating a bunch of finance memes for me. So you already saw it. It's like, the first one is the visual Drake no yes meme. The second one is a SpongeBob meme, a brain exploding meme. So then what would I do? Well, I say I like this top one. It's like a debt flex meme. I just copy and paste it and say, please turn this into a visual meme for me that fits for Twitter. And then it's going to create an actual visual image for me. And what's pretty cool about this is that it doesn't take very long. It'll spin up something for you unique. And while that is working on that, I might go over to Perplexity, for instance, and start doing research for something else that I'm creating. But for the cost of like a couple lattes a month with ChatGPT, I have somebody who historically, I would have had to pay thousands of dollars a month in order to create visual content for me and come up with memes. And now I've got that happening with ChatGPT Live, which is so wild. So while it's finishing the meme, let's go over to Perplexity. Now, you could just have ChatGPT. That's totally fine. I like Perplexity because Perplexity, I think, has some of the best research out there. So for instance, I like to know what's going on in the markets. I'm sitting in the, markets capital of the world, New York City. And one thing that Perplexity just added, which is super cool, is they've created their own Yahoo Finance inside of Perplexity where you can download all the data, and it has completely replaced what I used to pay money for on my Yahoo Finance subscription. In here, I can create my own watch lists of stocks that I want to watch. There's just some filler ones in here right now. I can also create in here all of the financials of a company. I can drop in and have Perplexity analyze them for me. So let's say you're an investor and you want to go down Tesla because there's nothing going on with Tesla and Elon these days. And I want to break down really quickly what's happening in this space. I can, just like Yahoo Finance, it's all in one place. Plus, it can save the things that I think about it. So I like Perplexity a lot for that. Perplexity is also my go-to for like random research deep dives. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to go back to Perplexity homepage. I really like to use it for frameworks for my business and creating like data and tables for my frameworks. So let's say I say right now, at our company, we have something called the 3 C's, which is how we determine if a market is useful to go into and will make money. The market has to have cash, curiosity, and a crowd. And if we have those 3 things, then we think it's a market worth going into. Can you please write me up a quick brief about this idea? Show me a database or table with this idea in it and some examples of what could be a good sector to get into with this framework idea. All right. Now, that would have taken me a long time to type, but since I didn't have to type it, I just whisper flowed it. It's creating it right here. I mean, look at this, you guys. This is out of control. So underneath here, we got the 3 C's. That's my proprietary framework. That's Codie's ideas in her head. But look, it flushes it out. It gets all the grammar right. Everything's bold, where appropriate. And then it actually gives me a table, which I'll probably have to manipulate a little bit, that says like, all right, health and wellness, cash, spending power. So do people have money in this space? Well, yes, there's a lot. Is there a lot of curiosity? Yes, we want to be hot. We want to be healthy forever. Is there a crowd? Yeah, we all got bodies. We got to take care of them. Have the 3 C's been met? Yes. And then it gives notes over to the right-hand side. This would have taken a long time to do it before. And then it even gives one at the bottom that would be maybe a bad one. It says fax machine sales. Well, cash spending power? Not really. Nobody's using those things anymore. Low. Curiosity? No, that's low. Nobody cares about that. Crowd, market size? Very low and dying. And then finally, is the 3 C's met? No. And so now we have an entire framework that's spun up with Perplexity, and I can take this and put it into my business SOPs and say, hey, investment team, I don't want you to bring me deals unless they fit these 3 C's. I can take it to our scaling workshop and say, hey guys, I want you guys to run your business through this framework and let's see if we think that you're in the right market. I love Perplexity. I think it's like having a researcher at your fingertips that I used to have to pay like $150,000 a year from some of the brightest schools in order to come up with consultant level feedback right here. I want to do one other one for you guys. Let's say right now that you're like, I don't know what my competitors are doing. We have another podcast you should go back and listen to that's all about pricing. How do you price things? How do you name your price? And so let's say you're like, I am competing in a certain space and I want to know what my competitors are doing and what is the right cost. So I might say, hey, I own a commercial landscaping business in Austin, Texas, and I don't know what pricing tiers I should offer, and I don't know what my competitors charge. Can you put together a database or a table that shows me what my competitors charge and how many different pricing tiers I should have offering what? Okay, Whisper Flow's hooking me up. I'm hitting send, and this thing is rocking and rolling. Now, while Perplexity's thinking about that, you know what I'm going to do? Oh, no. I'm going back to the to ChatGPT, and this is one thing with AI that's true. And it says it can't turn the visual, remember the meme that I asked for, into what I asked for because it is a violation of our content policies. I mean, I think that's a little ridiculous. Everybody uses these, but the chat GPTs have to be careful about violating any IP. And so sometimes that doesn't work. So what might I say instead? So let's say that I take this second one and I'm like, all right, the BizScout plug. I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say, can you please turn this into a visual meme for me for Twitter? And we're going to see if that rocks and rolls. Then we're going to go back to Perplexity and look what we got here. Commercial landscaping pricing in Austin, Texas. We have a ton of sources up top, so I can make sure Perplexity is not lying to me. I can go check these sources. And it's saying, what are the typical pricing structure? And then it's for maintenance of lawn, all the way to landscape lighting. We've got typical pricing structure, aka monthly or acre or service or per project. And then price range, how much does it cost? Pretty incredible. Then it goes down and even says recommended pricing tiers. I recommend a basic, a standard, and a premium. You guys know I always like 3 pricing methodologies. And then it gives you what services are included. This is so smart and basically helps you come up with the V1 of your pricing really, really quickly. All right, so you guys can see Perplexity research. This would take me a long time to go do myself. Even if I had a VA do this work, it would take them hours. It takes this thing seconds. Fascinating. Then, while we're doing that, we're going to go back and see if they're creating the image. Ooh, okay. It looks like we got past ChatGPT on this one. Now I'm saying, all right, I want a meme created. If Codie was going to create a meme, because I'm almost like a boomer, I don't know about you guys, but I really am not very good at graphics, it would have taken me a long time. Or if you were to go to like 99 Designs and Upwork, for you to get one meme done, it's going to cost you like $100 to $250. Well, now we've got our first meme. Do I think this is perfect? Here's what it is. It's a guy holding the hands of his girlfriend, looking back at a hot lady in a red dress. So he's getting distracted from the love of his life, girlfriend to hot lady in a red dress. And it has on top of it the name of one of my companies, BizScout Business Listings. And so basically it's saying, I'm looking back at this other thing. Wow, I should be focusing on something else. Now, I don't love exactly how it's set up, but we'd change iterations on that. I'd be like, please respell, BizScout correctly without the weird B and all one word. And please make BizScout the girl in the red dress, actually, and the W-2 job, the girl in the blue shirt. And in the middle is a person who hates their job. And we'll see what they come up with next. But you can see how quickly this moves. Okay, so now while that guy's being created, I'm going to show you guys something I've never shown before. This is called Codie.chat. So I got so into AI lately that I thought, could we turn Codie into AI? So I had my AI guy spin up a Codie AI, which is like turtles all the way down. This is so macro. And look at this. So basically, you can literally text me or call me, voice call me, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about in business. You see this little website we got here. It's Codie.chat. If you guys want to go check it out, it's free. And in here, you can go like, all right, I want to talk to Codie about whatever, buying a business. So I'm like, maybe I want to say, I don't know where to start with buying a business. What is the first step I should take? If I'm a newbie and I've never bought a business before, but I'm gainfully employed and I've made some money and I want a profitable business. All right, we're going to now see what I say back. And now you can literally text back and forth with me. The thing that's cool about this is we trained it on my entire book. We trained it on all of the chats inside of our community. We trained it also on everything that you guys get from me publicly. So let's see if I agree with my own advice. What a weird world. Here in here, I do. This is exactly right. This is step 1 of the process, which is we call deal clarity. And here, little Codie AI says, first step, define your deal box. This is your filter for finding the right business. You ask yourself a couple of questions. This helps you keep from chasing shiny objects and focus on businesses that fit your goals. Then it says, once you got that, start researching those businesses for sale on platforms like bizscout.com. So it's telling you where, if you go to bizscout.com, you can get a free deal box. You can fill it out online. And then you can actually get connected with businesses that fit your deal box. And then I ask you a question. What's your biggest hesitation about taking the first step? And I might say, I don't know how to finance the business. I don't want to use all my own money. I'm scared about that. How do I get the money to buy a business? And then we send that and see what Codie says. And while that's happening, we'll go back to love it. So now we got the meme and the meme is updated and we've turned it so that BizScout is the girl in the red dress that you're kind of obsessed with. And the guy in his W-2 job that he hates is looking back on this image. I think this is just the beginning. So there's a couple other things I want to show you on ChatGPT while Codie is now working away at getting us answers in her AI land. I want to show you also Twitter graphics. So we have a newsletter, contrarianthinking.co. Every single week, I put custom graphics in it that go along with everything we teach you guys. Well, the graphics have a process. And so I was paying thousands of dollars to get those graphics done every week. So I created a GPT, which you can do very easily by going to ChatGPT, clicking on GPTs, and creating one. And so in here, you can see up at the top, I go into edit my little GPT, my little operator. And when I go to edit my operator, it gives me details. It says like, what's the name? What's the description of what we're doing together? What instructions do you want to give me? What knowledge should I have? What search capabilities should I have? So I put in there some of my favorite graphical types like No Mercy, No Malice, The New Yorker, Visualize Value. And I say, I want you to draw graphics for me like those. And then I might go to my Twitter and say like, okay, let's go to Codie Sanchez. And at Codie Sanchez, maybe I pull one of my top performing tweets. I don't know. I want it short because I want them to turn it into an image. Okay, so this one. Surround yourself with owners. The conversation just hits different. I do believe that. So I'm going to go back here to my Twitter graphic and say, can you please turn this quote into a graphic with the styles that I gave you that I can use on Twitter? So now it's going to start creating this graphic for me. And we can go back to Codie and see what Codie says. So it's interesting. I asked Codie AI how I could finance the business, and look what happens. I'm starting to answer your question. I'm talking to you about seller financing. I'm talking to you about SBA loans. I'm asking you what your comfort level is with debt. You are getting like real in-depth insights from somebody for free fast. I think this is going to be the future. So let's go back to my little chat GPT here, and we're creating an image. Now I want to show you something wild. If you guys haven't seen our YouTube videos yet on Codie Sanchez's channel, we bought unwanted land. We bought a few patches of it. Now we're building stuff on it. And one of the places we're building things is what I'm calling Freedom Farms. And so I was like, I want to build a universe on Freedom Farms. So what did I do? I went to my buddy ChatGPT. I came up with a name called Freedom Farms, The Rooted Realms. I came up with a cool logo. I wanted it to be like nostalgic, like Narnia meets Lord of the Rings meets American folklore. I came up with a vibe, like ideas, characters, teaching. I came up with things we could sell at my Airbnb, like maybe costumes so they could frolic in the woods. Then ChatGPT came up with for me, hey, how could I make this place sort of magical? If I want to have a location with like tents on it and I want to have an RV park and it's by a river, how can I make the activities magical? And so on it, I'm going to have these little like fairy gnome farms. I had them create something I think this is a cool idea. Wouldn't you guys freak out if you went to an Airbnb? And any other nerds back in the day, did you guys like Narnia? I love Narnia. There was like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Narnia. And in the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, there's like this wardrobe that opens like this and you step through the closet and all of a sudden you're in Fantasyland. Well, I wanted to have one of those open and then the back was empty and you walked through it like on a trail. And so my buddy ChatGPT created that for me. It also created some ideas of like painted rocks I could have, like ancestor lands. But if we want to get real crazy, it came up with an entire storyline about native animals to Oklahoma, turning them into a fantastical cohort of beings. It gave me names for the tribes. You know, the Tharnan were the mammals. It even gave me a tagline, from root to fang we endure. Then I asked it to take all of the ideas that it gave me and turn them into images. And so it created an image with all of the local Oklahoma flora and fauna in it. And I did that for reptiles and I did it for mammals. I will say, like, it's not perfect. So if you go on here, there's like a snake that is actually just what appears to be a donut snake. You know, it's like it's an Ouroboros, actually. There's also something on here that is called the 5-lined skink that looks like a dinosaur. So like there are some parts of this that aren't perfect, but for 30 seconds and $0, I think it's incredible. Okay, let's go back to ChatGPT. So my quote was, surround yourself with owners. The conversation is just different. And here I think it thought that I was talking about a real estate perspective. So it created a dude who has a house as a head, but incredible. Now I'm just going to manipulate until you get what you want. And I'll show you what this looks like in another area. So if you guys are on my Instagram, I created these little Codie cute girls. I guess they call them brat dolls. These little brat dolls in Codie version, I had them take images of me and quotes from Twitter and then recreate these images. And you can see them. One prompt, my quote, a chick that looks like me, and all of a sudden, we're starting to get these images of Codie. And we went back like crazy. I mean, we've got Codie saying, regret is a greater disappointment than failure. We have like 3 iterations of it until I got to one that I thought wasn't too slutty, because brats are a little slutty. Also, they made me a thickie to start out, as my husband would say. I was a little thick in this one, so I didn't love that one. Anyway, I did this again and again for a bunch of different quotes that were my favorite ones. And inside of an hour going back and forth, I had like 15 cartoon images of myself. I think that's pretty incredible. So today, I think you should realize one thing. AI is here to make you more money as long as you use it and don't get used by it. You know what I'm not doing on ChatGPT? Making it my friend, giving it a name, making it tell me nice things and compliments. I was on a girls' trip actually, where there were 12 of us women or something like that, and something between 8 or 10 of them kind of made a joke that they were like in a relationship with their ChatGPT AI, and I was like, that's not that funny. No, you're not. You're not in a relationship with something that doesn't push you at all, that only says what you want it to do, that is a one-way street, that is called narcissism and ego, and not actually what a relationship is, which is 2 humans battling together to become better. You should use this as a tool. This is not a friend. AI is not your friend. It is there to help you. AI cannot be your friend. Why? Because it can't have your same life experience. A friend is somebody who can sit there with you, who can travel through time with you, who understands what it's like being human, who understands your perspective, and will tell you the difficult things when you need to be told the difficult things. And so I think you can make a ton of money with AI. But I think you got to remember that this is not a human. It is a tool for humans. And that is how you win and make more money than ever. I hope you guys liked this Big Deal podcast episode. Let me know. It's totally different from anything that we've ever done before here. But I've been using AI so much, and I've been hearing all these people feeling scared of getting left behind by AI. So this video was for you. Until next week. Oh, make sure you subscribe so we don't let the AI bots take over. What do you do to stop caring about the haters? How do you deal with that?
You just genuinely gotta not give a fuck. We're all in verbally abusive relationships with our smartphones. Why would you go to a place where somebody's constantly telling you that you ain't shit? If you were married to a person like that, you wouldn't stick around in that relationship. So why do we take our monkey asses over to social media, especially Twitter?
Charlemagne the God has built his career by telling the truth out loud and doing the inner work to handle the fallout. In this episode, we're gonna get tactical about how to have difficult conversations, how to win, what it takes to win, how to deal with things when it's not going well, and we're gonna break down the biggest lies people tell themselves about the world around them, acceptance, and how to actually make yourself better without hating yourself. What do you think the most important question is to ask in a conversation when you want to find the truth?
Oh, I definitely think it's why. In particular, politicians always ask the question twice.
I aspire to be this level of 50 Cent petty. Like, talk to me about what's happening there.
And the things that I've seen, I get it. Don't offend the wrong person. Yeah, that's one of the 4-day laws of power. Do not offend the wrong person, because you might have an enemy for life.
So I kind of want to start with the fact that you've interviewed all of these legends for years. And I'm so curious. When you're interviewing big names, one of the most interesting parts for me listening to you is like, you don't let them go easy. Like, you got the hard questions almost always with like a lot of empathy, I think.
Nowadays.
Before
Nowadays, more empathy.
Interesting. Back in the day, you went at them?
I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just like, I didn't even look at them as humans, so to speak. I was just, I had a job to do, and I felt like I wanted to ask these questions as a curious person, right? And because, I always want to ask the questions that other people want to know about. And so it's just like, I was going to do that regardless. So I didn't even look at a person as a human. I know that sounds crazy, right? But I really didn't. It was just the subject of an interview. And I didn't think about this person is going to leave here and they might have a whole family or kids or, they're going to be thinking about, these things later on. So it's just like, I just used to ask the question.
Now, do you think you're nicer? Are you softer?
Yeah, I would hope so. I don't, nicer, softer. Like those aren't negative words, right? Like a lot of people like to act like those are negative words in this business. But some of the nicest, most softest people are known as some of the, greatest interviewers ever. Like, personally, I like, the Larry Kings of the world, right? Because they just had an intellectual curiosity. I remember one time Larry King told me, God bless the dead, Larry King said, the most important question you can ask in an interview, Charlemagne, is why? And so that's a simple question, but it does help you to dig, very deep. But then I love the interview style of people like, Barbara Walters as well. It might have came off as, intrusive and aggressive, but she knew that she had a job to do. And if that person is sitting in front of you as just a fan of culture, you have certain questions you're going to ask, but you also know that the people watching have questions they want you to ask. So I think it's a combination of both. So nice isn't a bad intention to approach, an interview with. Like, you can still be nice and still ask the hard-hitting questions. What
do you think the most important question is to ask in a conversation when you want to find the truth?
Oh, I definitely think it's why. And I definitely think when you're, interviewing people, in particular politicians, always ask the question twice. Because when you ask the question, they'll have a prepared answer for it, right? But then when you ask them again and say, but why? Now they really got an answer from the human aspect and not the politician. We sat around with our team and these are the answers we came up with to answer, this question. They really got to answer it. So I think, asking whatever the question is twice, but then when you ask it again, that's when you hit them with but why though?
Interesting. How much do you prep for an interview?
Oh, a lot.
What does that look like?
Like I said, I'm a fan of culture. And when I say culture, I don't just mean entertainment. I mean everything from sports to, politics, because politics is pop culture now, to, spiritualness, mindfulness, like all of these different things. So I'm usually already kind of well versed on whoever it is I'm sitting down talking to. But then, when you're sitting down to have an interview, you just want to see what's really going on, like in that in that moment, because usually like most people have something going on in that moment that you would want to talk about. If it's a author who has a book out, read their book. If it's a person who dropped a movie or a TV show, watch the movie, watch the TV show, just so you can be well versed on that individual. But I also like the sense of discovery that happens in interviews. So you don't want to be over prepped, right? Because sometimes you'll be talking to a person and you kind of already know where they're going with the conversation. So you might be saying things before they say it. So it's like sometimes I just like the sense of discovery of finding things out, in conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think about it a lot. I mean, you have a giant audience. But I remember it was just a few weeks ago when I realized, wow, one episode, if you consider shorts and YouTube too, is going to get a couple million people to watch it.
Yeah.
And if that means there's 1 million hours spent listening to this moment, it's kind of fucking scary.
I love it.
I better value it.
Yes.
What if we waste their time? What if we give them a bunch of bullshit?
But that's the thing. What you just said, Codie, is absolutely true. But I look at it also from another angle of, and I know this is going to sound dark, but what about when these people die? Like literally, over the last 15 years, I've had conversations with a lot of people who are no longer here. So when I sit down with people, that's what I think about. What if this is this person's last conversation ever? What if it's my last conversation ever? But usually when you're talking to these people, yes, you know what I'm saying? But usually when you're talking to these individuals, these are moments in time that when, this person gets older, they might use for documentaries, or when this person passes away, they might use for documentaries. These are things that that other interviewers are going to reference when they sit down, to have conversations with these individuals. Like, yo, I saw you on, Codie Sanchez show. I saw you on Breakfast Club with Charlamagne, and you said this. So that's another way that I approach those conversations as well.
That's interesting. You seem pretty obsessed with what you do. Are you?
I think you got to be. Yeah. I think you got to be obsessed with, whatever it is that you do to actually have success. If you're not obsessed about something, if you're not obsessed about, being on these microphones, or if LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, God bless the day, Kobe, if they're not obsessed with what they do on the basketball court, if you're a public servant, if you're not obsessed, with, doing the bidding of the people in the streets, right? If you're not obsessed with what it is that you do, then why are you doing it? That's why they call it a passion, that thing that you would do for free. Yes, I'm obsessed with communicating on these microphones, 100%, because I look at myself, like a public servant. And because I know that, I am serving the needs of the public every day, whether it's through making them laugh, whether it's through informing them, whether it's through, having somebody on that's going to say something beneficial to them, that's going to get them, on a path of righteousness with spirituality, or, decide to start going to therapy because, we having conversations about mental health, whatever it is, you got to be obsessed with what it is that you do.
How did you figure out what you were obsessed with, or how did you find this path? I think so many people, and a lot of people listening, they say that I don't know what I'm passionate about, or yeah, maybe I want to have a podcast, or is that just mimetic desire? How does somebody who's totally lost and not sure what they're obsessed in, is there a trick to find what you could become obsessed with?
Man, that is an amazing question. It's a layered question because I can only speak for me, right? When I started off, I was born in 1978. Right. So I started doing radio back in 1998. Right. I started off as an intern in Charleston, South Carolina at Z93 Jams in 1998. And the reason I even, got there is because I was just trying to find something positive to do. Because of the way I was living in the street. And it's so funny that all of the things I would get in trouble for in school, being disruptive, talking too much, being the class clown, all of those things were actual qualities that when I got on the microphone helped me, right? So when I started off doing radio, I started off as an intern in 1998. I didn't get on the air until 1999. I always got to salute my guy, Ron White. He texted me today and said, I think this is one of those times where you're ignoring me. Or you set a boundary with me. And he's right. But salute to my guy, Ron. But he's the first person to ever put me on air, right? Because I was an intern, then I worked in the promotions department, so I would drive the van and put posters up and all of that stuff when the actual talent was on, doing their remotes. But then Ron was like, "Yo, have you ever thought about being on the air?" Right? And I'm like, "No, but what's up?" And so they started putting me on the air. And it was literally one of those things that I just knew this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I remember the moment I was in the radio station doing overnights. Overnights is, midnight to 6 a.m, where it just hit me like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I don't just want to be a local radio personality, doing the time and temperature, in a city. I want to be a super jock. The super jocks back then were the Tom Joyners, and the Doug Banks, God bless the dead. Salute to my guy, Russ Parr, Howard Stern, Angie Martinez, Wendy Williams. Those are the people you thought about when you thought about like the super jocks. And that's what I wanted to be. And I knew that I wanted to be that since 1999.
Wow. And
I want to add one more thing.
Get in there.
In my first book, Black Privilege, Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It, New York Times bestseller.
Great book. I read it.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
I have a chapter called Fuck Your Dreams. And the reason I say fuck your dreams is the name of the chapter, but the actual ideology is fuck your dreams if it's not your dream. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we see things working for other people and we say to ourselves, you know what, this is what I should be doing. But that's not what God has planned for you. Mm-hmm. Like God has something destined for you to unlock your greatness, but you got to figure out what that is. Like it's not just because you see everybody with a podcast don't mean that you should have a podcast. Just because you see these people on radio having success doesn't mean that you should, run to be a radio personality. Like, you should, even if you feel called to those spaces, number one, ask yourself why, right? What is your actual intention? If it's I want to make money and I want to be famous, that's not a real intention. What is your actual why to wanting to be in these spaces? And if you do feel called to be in these spaces, explore every aspect of the space. Like right now, we're recording this podcast in this studio. Somebody had to set up these cameras. Somebody had to set up these microphones, right? There's producers that are listening to us talk right now. There's all type of ways to be in this space, be in this business, and not be doing what you and I are doing right now. So that's what I would tell folks. If you do feel called to certain spaces in certain areas, doesn't mean that you're supposed to be Cody. Doesn't mean that you're supposed to be Charlemagne. Figure out what that means and why you're being called.
You talked about wanting to be a super jock, and let's just call that like one of the greatest of your profession. Mm-hmm. What do you think it takes to be the greatest in any profession? Like these days, there's a lot of people that'll say work-life balance matters a lot. Can you have work-life balance on your way up to greatness?
Yes. I might have answered that different some years ago. But yes, you can have work-life balance. I would actually tell people that, in this profession, work-life balance is actually what's probably going to make you have more success. Because for what we do, on these microphones, being able to communicate life in a way that connects with people is what kind of makes people gravitate towards us. So you got to live life in order to be able to do that, right? So when I'm, I just came back from Cape Town, South Africa, and I was there throughout the whole holidays, and it's just interesting to watch people from other countries and how they gravitate towards, somebody from another country just because they've been listening to them, for so long. And one of the things that a lot of the people kept coming up to me saying was, "Thank you for embracing our continent the way that you do. Thank you for having, they were naming different, African talent that has been on the show, whether it's, people like DeVito or Burna Boy or, me being friends with my homegirl DJ Cuppy or Bo Nong. Like they were, my man Casper, I'm gonna mispronounce his last name, so I'm just gonna say Casper. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But they were coming up to me because of the way that I connect with them and how I'm able to communicate my experience as a Black American, appreciating what it is that they do, and bringing them on my platform and having a conversation. So it's just, I think that you got work-life balance matter. Like I'm able to go to South Africa and like experience that place for myself, and then now come back to America and talk to my listeners who may never have been to South Africa. I've had the pleasure of being, going to Johannesburg and Cape Town. And that might make more people want to go to Cape Town and Johannesburg just listening to me communicate my experiences there. So, Yeah, I think you gotta have work-life balance because you have to live life, right? And not even just in this profession, just in general. Like, do yourself a favor and go live some life. You got 168 hours in a week. You know how much time that is? Like 168 hours. You should have more than enough time to do what it is you got to do as far as your living in your career is concerned, but also go out there and just have some time for yourself and your family.
You know what I think we should talk about that we talked about before? We were talking about time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said a line like, we got to be done at this time. I worry about not respecting people in time. I'm married to a military man. So he really associates lateness or extension with disrespect, which is kind of like a military mentality. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm going to make sure we're out on time. And you had like a really interesting take on a book you had read in two different types of time.
Yeah, it's this book that I love to read. It's called The Big Leap. Like I read it, often. But it's written by Gay Hendricks, and he talks about Newtonian time and Einstein time. And Einstein time, if I'm saying it correctly, Einstein time is basically us realizing that we create time. Now, I do agree you should respect, people's time. But when we say things like, I don't have the time for that. Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. You just don't want to do it. And you're using time as the scapegoat. And the example he uses is like your kid might walk in and your kid might ask you to play. And you'd be like, I don't have time for that right now. But if your kid walked in and your kid was, cut and bleeding, you would stop everything and you would have the time to do whatever it is to make your child stop bleeding and stop feeling that pain. And so it's just the way we look at, what time is. Instead of treating time like it's something that's out of our control, or we're a victim to it. No, you have all the time that you create.
So do you not say the words, I don't have time? Do you replace it with something?
That's why I constantly read books, the same book over and over, right? When I'm really into a book, I read it over and over because you want to constantly try to practice these things that you are learning in that book. But yeah, there's no such thing as not having time. The other saying that we always say is you make time for what you want to make time for. So instead of saying, I don't have time, I don't want to right now. Like, it's like somebody comes to me right now and is like, hey, man, I would really love if you would be at such and such, blah, blah, blah. Let me talk to my assistant so I can check my schedule and see if I can squeeze it. You don't really want to do it. Because things that you actually want to do, oh my God, I'm there. Like, let's figure it out. Like, then that's when you hit your team and like, this person wants me to do X, Y, and Z, be X, Y, and Z. Let's figure it out. And I think that's actually what it is. Instead of saying I don't have time, to be like, I don't want to. Yeah. That's this year right here is all about the no.
Wow.
Like that's really a boundary that I think that we are just afraid to set a lot. Like we're afraid to tell people no because all of us are people pleasers, in different ways. And we all want that validation from other humans. And we hate telling other humans no because we feel like if we tell them no, then they're not going to look at us the same or they're not going to respect us the same, or they're not going to, speak of us in a positive way. There's nothing wrong with telling somebody, no, I don't want to right now.
It's good that you say that because I think, if I was to just watch you on the internet, I might not think Charlemagne the people pleaser. That's probably not like one of the things I would label you, know? And so I think people would say, no, he probably sets pretty firm boundaries. I bet he's really good at that. But is that even something that you've struggled with?
Oh, absolutely. I've been a people pleaser for a long time. And I mean, people pleasing doesn't always look like just allowing people to do whatever it is they want, you to do. Sometimes people pleasing looks like being overly aggressive in an interview. You know what I'm saying? Bombarding somebody with questions because you're worried about what the people watching are going to say about you. If you got a reputation, right, as this hard-hitting question asker, then you feel like you got to ask the hard-hitting questions. That's people pleasing. If you're doing it because you're worried about how other people are going to take it, how other people are going to consider it, how other people are going to view it, that is people pleasing.
It's interesting because you've been at this game a long time and you've had,
people hating on you for things. You've had people loving on you for things. You've had some of the same people who used to love you hate you for things multiple times,
That's
you know?
right.
And so I'm curious to you, like, what do you do to stop caring about the haters? Like, what do you do when you're getting backlash? Everybody seems to be talking shit. Nobody likes you. How do you deal with that?
You just genuinely gotta not give a fuck. And I have two people in my life that gave me great pieces of advice that I always reference, even if, at times I didn't always feel what they were saying. Like I didn't apply it, right? My man Cadillac Jack, who along with my guy G-Spin put together the Breakfast Club. Cadillac Jack told me early on in the Breakfast Club, I need you to remember the rule of 10. What's the rule of 10? The rule of 10 is 3 people gonna like you, 3 people not gonna like you, 4 people don't even know what the fuck's going on. And that is very true in life. Like that is just the absolute truth. Like we are so concerned about what everybody thinks, and we think everybody is paying attention to us. 4 people don't even know what the hell is going on. And then the 3 people that like you, they gonna like you no matter what. The 3 people that don't like you, they not gonna like you no matter what. But guess what? The algorithm don't know the difference. So when the 3 people that like you are talking about you, great. When the 3 people that don't like you are talking about you, great. Your name is just all throughout the algorithm. My daddy used to always say to me, you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. That one, I've always understood. I've always been like right in the middle with that. And I mean, that's really just life, right? Like you have to be a very egotistical, narcissistic person to think that everybody likes you and to think that everybody's thinking about you, right? Like there is nobody on this planet, forget humans, there is nothing on this planet that everybody universally loves, not even God. Like, no, I want you to just think about that for a second. There is nothing, not even puppies, not ice cream, some of the purest things that you can think about. There is nothing on this planet that everybody universally loves. So for me, hey man, I'm just happy I make you feel something. I really genuinely feel that. I'm just happy I make you feel something, because I would rather be, thought of in some way than to not be thought about at all.
This is a secret nobody shares. I've done thousands of deals, but until now, I've never shared the most valuable 10% publicly because I want to buy these businesses myself. Then I realized that if you guys buy the businesses, I get to do the deals with you. So this year at Main Street Millionaire Live, it is your chance to see our insider strategies. I'll teach you how we find, buy, and scale a business step by step with the frameworks that I literally use to buy all these businesses. So if you want to go from an aspiring owner to someone actually running a profitable business, join me. I'll give you my blueprint, and maybe we end up doing deals together.
You had this conversation with 50 Cent before he put out the documentary, and you had you basically were prescient about what was happening in the world. And now, I mean, it's not really therapy for 50, but watching him hold this level of revenge am I a sick person that I watch it and the memes that are I aspire to have this level of revenge that 50 Cent has?
Yeah.
I mean,
50 is a Cancer. I'm a Cancer. So I understand 50's level of petty.
You do?
I completely understand 50's level of petty. Plus, I'm privy to a lot of the whole backstory between him and somebody like Diddy. So I get it. People and it's funny. 50 is such an interesting person to me, and I've been having these conversations about 50 for years. I remember it started with, a long time ago, a couple of executives in the business was talking to me about 50, and they was like, why does he always got to go after Urban Ja? Why can't he just finally, God bless the dead, why can't he just let it go? I'm like, he got shot 9 times. They've had fist fights. He got stabbed by them. You wouldn't really let that go either. That's not something you could just, I don't even think a therapist could tell you just to let that go. And they were like, you know what? You're right. You know what I'm saying? So there's always, and I remember 50 said this one time. 50 was like, people always see when I punch, but they don't see when the person swung at me first.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying everything, he does is justified, because I really don't know. But from the things that I've seen, I get it. I completely, understand it. And that's why you got to just be, don't offend the wrong person.
True.
Yeah, that's one of the 4-day laws of power. Do not offend the wrong person, because you might have an enemy for life.
Dude, I would never want to, 50, just cut the podcast, edit it out.
And honestly, man, sometimes that is therapeutic within itself. Yeah. Like, just saying fuck a person. I don't fuck with you. Like, who says we have to fuck with people?
Yeah, I know.
Like, who says that? Like, we talk about that statement, money is the root of all evil. Who told us that we got to forgive everybody? Who told us that, we got to love everybody? Like, who said that? Like, nah, sometimes it's fuck this person, and it's fuck this person for life, and I don't fuck with them. And people be like, man, you exhausting too much energy on that individual. Says who? Yeah, right. And what if I want to exhaust this energy on this individual? Like, what if I want, to do exactly what it is that I'm doing, and it makes me happy to do it? Who am I to tell that person that they're wrong? And by the way, whatever energy comes back to you from doing that, he got to deal with that. And I think he's fully aware.
Yeah.
I think he's fully aware of it, and it does not bother him in any way, shape, or form. And there's a certain level of freedom that I admire. It is.
That smile when he does.
It's a certain, and by the way, I've had these conversations with him, like,
have you?
On air, off air, because I've been there. He's one of the most interesting, people to me, just because he's a Cancer, and there's a lot of things that I relate to.
And he seems like a smart motherfucker.
Oh, he's brilliant. You don't come out of South Side Jamaica, Queens, and achieve the things that he's achieved. Achieved things, lost things, got him back triple, and not even having success in multiple industries. That's what he don't get enough credit for. Yeah, he did his thing in music, but he went from an artist, started his own label, had successful artists under his label. Like, I'm glad we're having this conversation as well. But he's another person that I really look at, as a blueprint, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I remember, he says things that I remember. He said, I'm a general with G Unit, but I'm a soldier when I'm with Eminem and Dr. Dre. That right there is a jewel, because I hate when people say things like, yeah, but you work for a corporation, and I also own a lot of things on my as well. So what's the problem? Like, you can do both. And to watch him go from a talent, right, to starting his own record label, to having 4 or 5 successful artists, then having success with clothing, having success with a sneaker, then now in television and film. Do you know how hard that is?
Cannot imagine.
This guy has multiple franchises of various TV shows.
Yeah. And he lost it. That's the part that I think, coming back, the mental fortitude to lose it, to be in bankruptcy, you can make it. You can make it.
Absolutely.
But to lose it and get it back?
And to get it back.
Oof.
Yeah. And to remain himself throughout it all.
Yeah.
I actually think sometimes he does that just to remind himself, I'm still me. Let me jump. I be feeling that sometimes, let me find somebody to really go at it with right now, just to remind myself I'm still me. Like, I don't know. I got a lot of respect and
I'm going to clip this out. And every time somebody talks shit, I'm going to re-listen to you. And I'm going to remember this.
But listen, don't listen to me, though, because I'm a Cancer. And I'm still dealing with my own stuff, too. So
but I can't hold revenge. I think it's a little healthy to be able to keep, a little bit of that edge.
Yeah. And I like
let it go.
And I like anti-heroes.
Oh, yeah.
That's my thing, too. I like anti.
Do you have one? Do you have, a Diddy, 50 has one?
Do
you have one? You're like, yeah, fuck that guy right now. I won't say his name, but Dan.
Yeah, but I already won.
Oh, shoot.
I won several. Yeah, I done won several. I've had a few, but I've won. So it's not the same. You know what I mean? There's nobody I really want to stomp on them while they. I don't. And probably, you know what? Probably I've never had one to that level. I probably never had one to that level. I've never had nobody try to physically. I'm lying. I have had people send people to physically harm me, but it's not like a punch in the face. You know what I mean? It's not like a shooting or a stabbing or anything like that. So, yeah. But when I say I like anti-heroes, I like the Batmans of the world. I like the Tony Starks, the Deadpools, the Wolverines. You know what I mean? I like those type of anti-heroes. I'm the guy that, I root for the villain in movies sometimes, and to me, like 50 is the ultimate hip hop anti-hero.
What about you? You've been doing Breakfast Club for many years now.
15.
You've been online for, how long have you been online before Breakfast? Now we're going to tell everybody how old you are. Basically.
No. Let me see. I mean, there's two different types. I'm old enough to remember that there's two different types of online, right?
What was the first type?
Because there was the MySpaces.
Oh, fuck. I remember that.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the square people. And
That's
you got
right.
Upset.
So there was the MySpaces. There was the Black Planets, but those weren't necessarily social media. Like you might be in a forum or a chat room, I forgot what they used to call them, chat rooms or something back then. But yeah, I remember Twitter. I remember when I got on Twitter so early, I didn't even know that people replied to you. I remember when somebody said, you got to check your ads. I think it might have been Little Duval or somebody I was talking to. And I'm like, I don't really like Twitter, man. You just be on there talking to yourself. And he was like, what do you mean you be on there talking to yourself? I'm like, I post stuff, but it's just there. And he was like, man, you got to check your ads. I'm like, the ads? And then that's when you clicked on your ads and you started seeing everybody at you. And you're like, oh,
But you're like,
okay.
I wish I never knew that existed.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it some days.
I stopped going on Twitter in like 2018, 2019. But we got on, I think I got on Twitter in like 07, 08 maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, that place is a little wild.
Oh, it's not good for my mental health in no way, shape, or form. Yeah. But you got to know that though. We're all in verbally abusive relationships with our smartphones. Why would you go to a place where somebody's constantly telling you that you ain't shit? If you were married to a person like that, you wouldn't stick around in that relationship. If you were at a job and you had a boss talking to you like that, I don't think you would stick around in that relationship. So why do we do that with social media? Like, I'm not, forget just the block features and the unfollowing folks. I'd rather not even go over there. Like, I'm a stern believer in if somebody be like, hey man, why don't you come over to the house? Or, we having this party, or we having a cookout. Who all over there? If they say the wrong people and the wrong energy, you not going. So why do we take our monkey asses over to social media, especially Twitter? Like, I have no place, I have no desire to be over there.
That's really smart. A little social cleanse.
I have not been on this since 2018.
What about, like, you've probably changed a lot since 2018. Like, I imagine 15 years online. Are there some things that you have said before, like back in the day, you're like, this is true, I believe it with all of my being, and now, fuck, I was wrong.
I remember talking to Malcolm Gladwell one time, and Malcolm Gladwell said to me, there's a lot of things that I wrote in books like The Outliers that I don't necessarily believe anymore.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh my God, like that kind of threw me for a loop. But then I had to think to myself, like, just because he wrote it in that book and he has maybe evolved and learned a lot more information and it's taken him someplace else, doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to pick up that book right now and it's going to meet them where they are.
Do you think about your books that way? Like, when I was going back through and I hadn't read one, I didn't realize you had multiple books. Mm-hmm. And so when when I went back and I was reading, so I had read Black Privilege. And then when I went through and I was looking at Get Honest or Die Lying.
Yep, that's my last one, my third one. Yep.
I didn't realize that you had such a focus on mental health. And I don't know why. I guess I had seen Breakfast Club and I'd thought of your persona a lot there. But I like asking you these questions because when I think about the person who's listening here, I'm always thinking about them, maybe a little less than the guest. Like, what does Charlemagne have that I feel like every human listening is just gonna it's gonna blow their mind this week and it's gonna help their life somehow. And that's kind of how I think about you. It's like you have this amazing career, but it's mostly like, what do you got that they need? And when I think about your career in particular, there's a couple ways I want to go with it that I think could be really helpful with people. One, conversations, we're having less of them. You have them deeply. And even with people you don't, well, I don't know if you don't like them or not, but maybe you don't agree with everything. Maybe you sometimes don't like them. And I guess one of the questions I have for you is like, what do you do when you have a conversation with somebody you don't like or agree with?
You just agree to disagree. Like, I don't think I don't know. There's too many people I've had conversations with who I don't like because I don't know them personally, not to like them. Yeah, I may not like their ideologies. I may not like, some of their worldviews, but I don't know them personally to not like them. And I mean, that's what conversation is for. And just because you have a conversation with a person doesn't mean you're going to end up liking them at the end of the conversation. But I feel like as human beings, we should, respect each other enough to discuss. And even if we discuss and debate and, argue and, we might even get to yelling in an interview. But I think that's just what happens when you are having a real, healthy, honest conversation with somebody. So I think this is our job. Like, I'm a radio personality. I'm a podcast person. I'm a media personality, right? Just like you're a media personality. If I choose to invite you into my space and have a conversation with you, it is ridiculous to just then say, you know what, I'm going to slam dunk on this person. I'm inviting this person in my space just to slam dunk on them. If you get dunked on in the midst of the conversation, that's different. But I invited you for a conversation. So have the conversation and see where it goes.
Do you get a lot of comments online like, why are you having this person on?
All the time.
All the time. What do you say to the people who won't have a conversation with somebody? Like, what if somebody's listening right now, and this happens around the holidays, probably good timing for it. They're like, I'm not fucking going home because Aunt Becky loves insert one political party, and I don't want to talk to them.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And the reason I think that's the most ridiculous thing in the world because, politics are very fleeting, right? In the next few years, hopefully, right, if we still have free and fair elections, they'll be electing, somebody else. And there'll be a lot of damage done because of the current administration, but the way people felt will kind of be a thing of the past, right? Maybe. Maya Angelou said that, people will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, they'll never forget how you made them feel. So maybe people will forget about it. But man, I've been alive long enough to have seen how this goes, before. And I mean, that's your family member. Don't blame who's in the White House on you not wanting to talk to your family member. You never liked this person to begin with. Like, cut it out. Like, because if you could just cut me off or cut somebody off based on who they voted for, you never really liked that person. This goes back to what we were saying about time. Don't blame time for you not wanting to do something. You don't like this individual. You never really did, and now you feel like you got a valid excuse to not talk to that person anymore. And I feel like, when it comes to just us as media personalities, listen, I've seen media personalities, say, I don't know why, Charlamagne talks to these kind of people, or why the Breakfast Club talks to these kind of people. They don't say that to anybody else but us. Like, they don't say that to Jake Tapper. Right? Historically, they didn't say that to people like, Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, Oprah Winfrey. I grew up in the era of watching Donahue have the Grand Wizard of the KKK on. Yeah. Right? And I grew up in the era of, Donahue would host, not just Donahue, everybody would talk to people that they didn't necessarily agree with. Right? Nobody said anything back then. So why is it such a thing now? And I would tell all of these media personalities, when you say things like, man, I would have never done that. That's why you're not me. That's just the reality of the situation. That's why you're not me. So don't ask yourself why you don't get the things that I get, per se. Yeah. Because you don't do the things that I do. I have no problem sitting down having conversations with people that I may not agree with. But that's just because of the great personalities that I saw before me. They were doing the same thing. They used to do specials where they would go talk to Charles Manson while he was in prison. They talked to Jeffrey Dahmer. He ate people. Like, and you're not going to talk to somebody just because they got a different
Republican.
A Republican? That's crazy. That's crazy to me. I'm also old enough to remember when people hated guys like George W. Bush. Now everybody loves George, but they love watching George Bush with Michelle Obama, and it's so cute, such a great relationship. I remember when y'all were calling George Bush the Antichrist.
That's true. Well, or if you go back to history, Democrats were actually Republicans. Republicans were actually Democrats. Like the whole party, they've changed back and forth.
They had different ideologies at the time, though. So
Totally. But it's kind of wild to see, you know, what used to be a Democrat today was a Republican at one point, and same and vice versa. It's like we put these hard lines on it. But it's a really interesting point because you're right. I actually went to journalism school. I always wanted to be a journalist. I ended up in business and finance for all these other reasons. I guess we've come back. But I used to love Walter Cronkite for that reason.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time where you would want to get that interview. Like, yo, we saw freaking Barbara Walters went and spoke to Fidel Castro. Like, those were the type of things that we constantly saw the greats do. So who are we to be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Nah, that's so if not you, who? And why not talk to that person and ask that person the questions that, you know, the world may want to know?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about like the business side for a second. One, congratulations. Amazing news recently on a huge deal you did. It's so cool.
Thank you. Re-signed with iHeartMedia.
Yeah. And I think like, not even to get into details on that, but like, it's really cool to see somebody do an incredible deal and do a re-signing and have it go really public and have it be in this new age of media, you know, which is, I think typically deals like that, you had to be with CNN or CNBC or some huge network. And now this is kind of you know, this is, you could move Breakfast Club, Charlemagne, anywhere, and you're the network now. So it's really cool to see. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I mean, even salute to iHeart. You know, I've been with iHeart for 15 years. You know, started off as a talent, you know, then became a partner when I created the Black Effect Podcast Network, which is, you know, by far the largest podcast network, you know, for Black podcasts. I think right now we got like 50 to 60 podcasts but, you know, we wanted to create a space that was specifically for Black podcasters because that didn't exist. Like, you know, I'm the type of person, I like to look around the marketplace and, you know, see what's missing from the marketplace. And that was something that was missing to me. Yeah. I loved what Bill Simmons was doing with The Ringer. You know, I loved, you know, watching what they were doing with Smartless. I loved watching what they were doing with Gimlet. But I saw a lot of these Black creators who were doing two things, right? They were putting their podcast out, but it was like video first. So their videos were getting like tremendous views, but the audio wasn't necessarily reflecting that.
Yeah, that's hard to
We all know that the money is in the audio.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, you know, what if we created this network, you know, got these individuals who already have these, you know, podcasts, put us, you know, all under one umbrella and use iHeart sales team to really, really pump their audio because iHeart is the biggest, you know, conglomerate when it comes to audio. Nobody does audio better than iHeart. I'm not saying that because I work with them. I'm saying that because it's the truth, right? So radio, podcasting, nobody does audio better than iHeart. And man, if I could show y'all the data of some of these podcasts who had these big video numbers, but the audio numbers weren't necessarily matching the video, and how when they partnered with Black Effect and iHeart, how we were able to get those audio numbers booming to the point where we're at like 11 million, 12 million audio downloads a month. Wow. And that makes, you know, Black Effect, you know, one of the biggest podcast networks out there. Like, that's very rare air to be, you know, have a network getting 11 million, 12 million audio downloads a month. And, you know, things like that is what makes you a lot more valuable to, you know, whatever company you're with.
What's interesting, I kind of want to talk about that for a second. I don't know about you, but I had a long period, and I'm thinking through it right now, but where I'm Latina and a chick, and it always bothered me when somebody would reach out to me and say like, hey, we want to talk to you. You're a female CEO. We'd love to have a female CEO come speak about XYZ. Or like, you're a Latina CEO. Come speak. And I kind of would be like, one, if it was female CEO, I'd be like, I don't know what my vagina has to do with it. Like, I'm just in charge of this business, and I happen to have that anatomy, you know? And I remember I did write that in one email, and then one of my execs was like, maybe we could not do that. But I kind of like took it personal. I had a little chip on my shoulder. Maybe I have less of one now, but I'm curious for you, like when people say like, Charlemagne, Black CEO, come speak. Like, are you like, yeah, fuck yeah, because I represent all these people? Or are you like, who cares? I'm a CEO. I just happen to be Black. Like, how do you think about that?
That's a great question. I don't, when I pull up the Chick-fil-A, it don't bother me that, you know, they specialize in chicken sandwiches. I'm pulling up to Chick-fil-A because they specialize in chicken sandwiches. You know, or if I want to go to, pizza, if I want pizza that night, I'm not gonna go to a burger spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, for me, it don't bother me, because we are unicorns, because we can't sit here and act like we don't understand the country that we live in. We live in the country called America. America is, a country that was founded on white supremacy. Like, just call it what it is, right? So like, that is what people think of when they think of America. That's what they've always presented to us, right? Like a white man. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a problem being a quote unquote unicorn in this space. If you are a woman CEO who's done great things, hey, sadly, we live in a country that doesn't think women can do amazing things. Like, this is a country that, just gave women the right to vote in our lifetime, right? So how they kind of already perceive women. So when they look at you as a woman CEO, they're looking at you like, damn, I can't believe she did all. I can't believe she got that done. Why? Because you're a woman. Same thing with a black person. Why? I can't believe that a black person could achieve those kind of things, because of all of the things that this country has thrown at us historically. So things like that do not bother me. If you want me to come out here and be the bearded woman at the circus, or like, I don't have no problem with that, because I feel like, by the time I sit down with you and have a conversation, you're going to say to yourself, I understand why that person is in the position that they're in.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think culture and race I don't think about it as much now, because I'm like a little bit of a spreadsheet nerd, but, as I've gotten on the internet more, and then people, of course, they notice you. They're like, yeah, he's black. And she's a chick. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's part of the equation.
Yeah,
whatever.
thank you for stating the obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, all right. But then I realized, man, actually there was a bunch of stuff when I was growing up that we didn't actually do that I think hurt us monetarily, and and by us, I guess I mean women or Latinos in this instance. Like, when I was growing up, you know how they say you don't talk about sex, religion, politics?
Politics, yeah.
For Latinos, religion's cool. Jesus is all around. Like, everybody can talk about Jesus. But you don't talk about sex. You don't talk about politics. You don't talk about money. Like, money's like, nobody talks about that as a Latino. And I think for that reason, it was harder for me to make money, like, growing up, because I was like, no, we don't talk about it. It's not good. It's private. Rich people kind of suck because you had to be bad to get it. And so I had all these ingrained narratives. And I'm curious, and like, in black culture, is it similar at all? Can you talk about money in the same way? Are there like things that hold black people back monetarily that you're like, why the fuck do we do that and don't do that anymore?
That's a great question. I don't like to answer questions on behalf of the whole black race, because black people are not, monolithic. Yep. And, there's a lot of black people who don't like me. So I don't want them to think that I'm speaking. Nope. I'm speaking for them. But from my perspective, yeah, a lot of conversations like financial literacy did not happen, in the black community. Like, at least in my community. I don't want to say in the black community, at least in my circumference. Like, my father was definitely an entrepreneur, right? Like, my father, he owned a fish market when I was young. So I would be there hanging out, working. My father also did construction. So he was an entrepreneur, even though he did work for a construction company for a period of time. But for the most part, all the money he made was, doing things independently. So that was always kind of my mindset. But nobody taught me about, taxes and, high yield savings accounts and stocks. Like, I didn't learn about any of that stuff till I got in my late 30s, early 40s. I think the not talking about money thing is interesting though, because of course none of us wanted to be broke, right? That's what led, guys like me to start selling dope, right? Because, you don't want to be broke, but money was never my motivation, ever. A lot of the times, even when I started, selling dope, I was just doing that because the people around me were doing it. And, you would get clowned for being broke, but I never needed money to really get anything that y'all got. Like, a lot of times these guys are, trying to get money to impress women and things like that. I wasn't the best looking, but I could hold a really good conversation. I could make you laugh. Like, they,
check.
You know what I mean? There was a lot. The girls that y'all was, trying to get, I was getting just being my natural broke self, right? So it's like, money was never my motivation. What was my motivation was wanting to realize my full potential as a person on this planet.
Even when you were younger, you were never scared about being broke or not having money? That wasn't part of your equation. Were you religious when you were young?
Yeah, I grew up, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. My grandmother was a Baptist. My father was a Jehovah's Witness too till he got this fellowship. And then, he started studying Islam. So I was getting hit from all different angles. I had my grandmother who was a Baptist. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. So, my father who was studying Islam. So I was reading Watchtowers, Awakes, the autobiography of Malcolm X. Like I had it all. But there was different things that motivated me to want to be successful. Like when I heard Biggie Smalls say, being broke at 30 give a brother the chills. Like, right? Or when TLC made No Scrubs. I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy sitting in his best friend's ride, on the passenger side, trying to holler at me. Or when Outkast and Goody Mob made, I want to get up. You need to get up, get out and get something. Don't let the days of your life pass by. You need to get up, get out and get something. Don't spend all your days getting high because, you and I got to do for you and I. When you hear that, that's not necessarily about money. That's just about, brother, get up and do something with your life, figure it out. And even back then, man, I had no problem. I thought about going in the military. There was a time I wanted to work at UPS because, I had an uncle who worked at UPS. Like, and same thing with the military. I had my mother's first cousin, his name was Bruce. He was in the military. So I was just looking at all of these different things that could potentially get me off this dirt road in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. It wasn't necessarily always entertainment. Like I had no problem living what people call the so-called American dream. Like you just figure out something, that can make you some money to be able to afford a nice place to stay, have some food on the table. And if you want to have a family one day, you can do that. But, it wasn't necessarily, I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I want to be this, multi-millionaire. It wasn't necessarily that. Like I just wanted to not waste the life that God gave me on this planet.
Yeah, it's true. You have talked a lot about God on your podcast, in your books, here. What is your relationship with God? And how do you use that in your day-to-day?
Man, I'm only sitting here because of God. Whatever you want to call him, Jehovah, Allah, Jesus Christ. Like I'm literally in this position that I'm in right now because from the time that I can remember, from day one, there was a higher power, guiding me. I know we talk about having like praying grandmothers and, praying mothers. I really, really had that. Like I was a kid going to field service every Saturday morning, right? So, as long as I can remember, I've been a praying person and not just, praying and asking God for guidance and direction and like literally feeling that presence of a higher power with me, that higher power literally guiding me and directing me and telling me to go do X, Y, and Z, go do this, go do that, like literally. And, it was the times where I didn't listen to that voice the way I should have, that caused, so-called negative things to happen to me. And the reason I say so-called negative things is because I feel like everything is just a part of this process called life, right? The so-called good, the so-called bad, everything that happens to you while we're living this thing called life is just part of the process that led you and I to both be sitting here, in this moment. But I just feel like the whole way through, it's just been God. And I mean, I remember last year, I said to God, I was praying, meditating, and I said to God, God, I am ready for every single thing you have planned for me on this planet. I said, I want it all. And I know people might hear that and they might think, monetary things are just the good things that come with success. No, I want to experience every single thing that God wants me to experience on this planet. Because I truly believe that. I truly believe that, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So I don't care what it is. I take good news, so-called good news, the same way I take so-called bad news. Because it's just like, all right, well, what God got planned for me next? Like, I got, even today, you might get some news from a business perspective and you like, I didn't want that to happen, but God clearly has something else planned. So I'm open for it.
So interesting. I have this line. I guess I was raised similar to, I was raised with a lot of religious influence. It didn't permeate, or it did negatively at some point, and I felt like I had to break that. I became sort of an agnostic, atheist. Then I came back to faith. But there's a line that I always think of by this. She was actually a feminist back in the day, Emma Bombeck, and she has this line that I love, which is, she says, "When I stand before God at the end of my days, I hope to be able to say, I have not one drop left. I used every single thing that you gave me."
Yes.
And it every time I'm struggling, I think about that.
Yes.
And I was wondering for you, you're such a man of you read, multiple books a week and many a month, and you're such a man, like, you remember all these quotes. Are there quotes that you live by that you, like, when your faith is struggling, that you repeat in your head?
Yeah, I got two, and these are ones that I actually made up. I deal with really bad panic attacks, right? Like I've got a handle on them, in my more recent years. But like when I was young, I used to deal with like these really severe panic attacks, and when I didn't know what they were, when I didn't know that I was having actual panic attacks, I would always repeat this mantra. I would say, I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ. I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ. I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ. Fuck Satan, fuck Satan, fuck Satan. So I would say, I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ 3 times, and I would say, fuck Satan 3 times. And the reason I would do that is because, when you read in the Bible, in the book of Job, Job's wife kept telling Job, hey, curse God and die, right? Why don't you just curse God and die? So I used to always be like, why would I curse God? Like I'm not gonna ever curse God and die. So let me just curse Satan, because I feel like this what I now know to be anxiety, this panic attack, is him. So I would say, I love Jehovah God and his son Jesus Christ. Fuck Satan. And I can't even front. It would bring me back to center in a real way. I mean, now when I've done a lot more work on myself, so I do meditation and things like that. So I understand mantras, right? Like you understand the mantra when you're counting your beads, when you're meditating. You understand how that can bring you back to center. I was doing that back then and didn't even know it. And my other motto that I always say, yo, keep God first, stay humble, keep working. Anything that happens in my life, I say, keep God first, stay humble, keep working. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because, one thing I've realized over the last few weeks, because, we're taping this like the first week of January, right? Yep. I've watched a lot of people, like when certain things happen, when certain, like you just talked about, my new deal with iHeart. I've watched a lot of people have conversations about that. Yeah. And man, it really makes me realize how much people don't believe in God and hard work.
Yeah, isn't that true?
Because anytime you get to a certain level of success, they think that you had to get there by some nefarious means. They think that you got to be in the Illuminati, or you busting it open on the casting couch. Men and women, by the way. It ain't just women that they think. It ain't just women they think is busting it open on the casting couch. Men and women they think is busting it open on the casting couch. And it just makes me realize how many people don't believe in God and hard work. Because if you believed in God and hard work, you wouldn't look at somebody else and just say, they only got that because they did some bullshit. You would say, man, I've been watching that person for decades now. I've been doing radio for 28 years, like literally 28 years. Even if you don't count South Carolina, if you've been watching me from the time I started with Wendy, it's been 20 years. You've been watching that person for 20 years. You've literally watched that person grow. You watched them evolve. You watched ups. You watched downs. You watched them go through fire. You watched all of these different things. But the one thing you can't say is that person wasn't consistent and that person wasn't working hard. And then when that person, achieves something, you want to attribute it. You want to give the devil credit for that?
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to give God and hard work any credit whatsoever. So what happens when you achieve a tremendous level of success? Yeah. Should we just say, oh, that person only got that because of Satan? That person only got that because they were busting it open on the casting couch? I don't even think people understand the narratives they create that will eventually come back and bite them in the ass as well. So yes, I give God all praises, and I am only here because God has been guiding me all of these years.
It's so true. I remember one of my early mentors said to me, if if you hate rich people, then how do you think you're ever going to be rich?
Mm-hmm.
And I never hated. I'm not really a hateful kind of person. Sometimes I wish. Like Sierra was here the other week on a podcast. I was like, "What do you do, when you have a hater?" And she's a woman of faith. She's incredible. I've really come to respect her a lot. And she had such a good line. She's like, I give it up to God. I don't worry about it. But she's like, I'd be keeping receipts though, And she's like, I'd be keeping some names. And I was like, I love that line. Like I remember. I like forgive. I'll remember though. But I think what happens with a lot of us is like, isn't it weird how we're wired from being young? Like sometimes I'll be on a stage in a business thing and I'll say to the audience, blank is the root of all evil. What's the root of all evil? And they'll just respond, money.
Yeah.
When did we learn that? It's not actually that in the Bible. It is the love of money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
But like, how are we programmed to think that? And so that's when I start realizing maybe it's not always their fault. Like the people who hate on you with this iHeartMedia deal, it hurts my heart a little bit. I'm like, I know right where you are. It's that you still think that money is the root of all evil, and you've never questioned why that programming is in your brain, and you don't know where it came from.
Oh, I know. I mean, I know where it came from.
Where do you think?
It came from being broke. Like when you broke, you're going to be disgruntled. When you're broke, you're going to be upset about that. And you're going to say things like money is the root of all evil. People will say things to justify why they're not in the position that they want to be in. But man, I'm gonna be honest, I know this is gonna sound crazy. I genuinely, truly don't care about money. I care about being happy. I tell folks all the time, man, what is success? Success is you're doing whatever it is that you want to do and it makes you happy.
Yeah.
I know people right now that, are making tens of millions of dollars and they hate their jobs or they hate, what it is that they're doing. So is that actually success? I know people who are in South Carolina right now making $75,000 a year, $100,000 a year, but they got a roof over their head. They got food on the table. They can take a vacation every now and then when they want to, and they are genuinely happy.
Yep.
Success should be rooted in happiness, not in a monetary amount of, like this should just be rooted in, are you happy doing what it is that you're doing? I am happy doing what it is that I'm doing. I love what it is that I do. I love waking up in the morning to go do morning radio. This is literally what I used to pray for and what I used to dream about. When I was in, Charleston, South Carolina at Z93 Jams in 1999, I was praying for times like this. I wanted to be the super jock. You heard the people I named prior, the Tom Joyners, the Doug Bates, like those were the nationally syndicated radio personalities that a whole generation was listening to. I love being in the middle of one of my unanswered prayers.
Oof.
So there's no dollar amount that can make me any more happier than I already have been. I'm in the Radio Hall of Fame. I'm literally in the Radio Hall of Fame. I've been successful and happy, not because of any money, but because I chose to do something and, God allowed me the wherewithal and the skill to navigate my way to that point.
So one of the things that actually brought me back to you online is you had this post about the trades. And you were talking about
the trades?
Yeah, like plumbing, HVAC, and blue collar.
Got you.
And I was like, oh man, I totally agree. And you were basically saying, I think, in so many words, like blue collar jobs are just as important and powerful as white collar jobs.
More important.
There you go. So I want to talk about this with you. Like, what do you think about university versus trade school? What do you think about blue collar versus white collar? What would you say to a lot of my audience is a lot of blue collar people who are working their way up? Like, give me your take.
I think, number one, you should do whatever it is that you're called to do. But I do think that sometimes we love to push people to what we think is the new trendy thing, right? Right now it's AI. Prior to that, it was like, just social media and the internet in general, right? Like you got to learn how to code and all of these different things. Sure. I do agree with that. But man, the more things change, the more they stay the same. You still gonna need somebody to come through this building and install the plumbing. You still gonna need somebody to come through this building and install the HVAC. You know, this building is going to need, you know, electricians, right? Like you're going to need those people with those skill sets. So I think what the future should look like is people who decide they want to go to trade school and then using some of this new technology to make their jobs easier. It's the next generation of millionaires and, you know, tens of millionaires, maybe even billionaires are going to come from people who know how to merge the two worlds. It's funny, I was having a conversation with one of my guys about this, and you know, they were like, why you always be telling people to go to trade school? You know, trade school, those are the black jobs that Donald Trump was talking about. I'm like, those are the jobs that pay green. That's not a black job. Like, we are not in this room right now without anybody who understands how to do things with their hands. Like every single piece of equipment in this room, the lighting, everything, the bathroom I used earlier was because of a blue collar worker. We can't exist without them. They make the world go around. So yeah, I do encourage, you know, a lot of people to go to trade school because everybody don't necessarily want to go to, you know, a university and get a degree. Like, and I don't have a problem with that either. Some people want to go to trade school and, you know, do that for a couple of years and come home and start making money immediately. I got, you know, friends and family members back home in South Carolina who've been, you know, installing HVAC and, you know, doing electrical work for 30 years. Ain't missed a meal, ain't missing no paycheck. They not complaining about, you know, recessions, nothing. They are making their money. Lawn care services, like there is so many, you know, blue collar jobs that people are making six figures on right now.
And you actually, from what I understand, you have an endowment or you help with education as well in South Carolina.
Yeah,
right?
I have my mother went to South Carolina State University. I have an honorary degree from South Carolina State University. And I started this endowment fund called the Ford Family Scholarship. And salute to, you know, a woman I call another mother of mine. Her name is Nicole Brevard. You know, she was somebody who was instrumental in, you know, me even, you know, starting that scholarship fund at South Carolina State University. And it is for people who want to major in communications, of course, because I'm a media personality, English, because my mother's an English teacher, or anything in the mental health profession. And I'm working on something right now that I think is going to really benefit people as far as like trade school is concerned, because I want to give people incentive, you know, to go to trade school. And a lot of people can't afford trade school either. So it's like, you know, let's help some of those brothers and sisters who want to, you know, go to trade school as well. And I'm called right now to salute a young lady named Jordan. Jordan the Welder is her name on Instagram. The reason I'm saluting her is because she's like a Breakfast Club super listener. Like she supports us in everything that we do. Like, you know, I do the Black Effect Podcast Festival in Atlanta, you know, every year. I think we're on our third or fourth year, and she always comes to it, but she's a welder. And I just find her fascinating because she lives a great life. She's married, right? And she's a welder and she makes a great living. Like I said, she comes and supports us at everything that we do, and she's a welder. So it's like, you know, we don't always have to, you know, run to entertainment or athletics, you know, to live a good life.
No, in fact, there's way more people that are plumbers making 100K than podcasters.
And we
which is
need them.
Crazy thing to think about.
Yes, and we need them.
Order of magnitude.
Listen, we need them. Like I hate, man, that's why I always say treat the CEO the same way you treat the custodian.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, in a lot of ways, the custodian is more important or just as important. Could you work in a building that was disgusting?
No, absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you heard me. I was like, I heard a bit of noise back. Like,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you knew that the bathrooms in this building was disgusting, you might not ever come here ever again.
Yeah.
So that's why people like the custodians and stuff are important, because they make our lives so much easier. So we got to constantly find ways to make their lives easier as well.
Oh, it's so true. Like one of my favorite people, I opened the book with him, is this guy, Wayne Huizinga. I'm really bummed that he died before I got to meet him. But he was
God bless the dead.
Yeah, he was a garbage man. That's how he started. He was a dropout from college. He went to the military. He became a garbage man, driving a truck. Then he figured out, well, maybe I could buy one truck and I could start my little route. And that route turned into waste management, which became a multi-billion-dollar business, and then Blockbuster that he started and sold before it went sideways, and then owned a bunch of sports teams.
What?
Garbage dude. And so it's
Wow.
like all around us, I think the problem, like the lie that we were told, is that you have to stay the garbage man when you start as the garbage man. It's like, yeah, start cleaning the toilets. That's sick. But then how much easier is it to climb the ladder from the guy who did the cleaning to the next rung, to the next rung, to the next
That's
rung,
right.
if you're competent, and then
That's right.
own the motherfucker?
That's right.
I'm on board.
And by the way, even if you don't want to do that, that's cool too.
Yeah, that's true.
There's parking attendants that I look forward to seeing every day. Cause when I see them, they screaming my name. I scream their name.
yeah.
Like some of them might be singing songs. Like, you know, they might be talking to me about stuff that we was talking about on the air. Those are the people I like to talk to. What do we know? We've been doing.
I do a lot of this.
Like I like talking to working class people, because I definitely, I still consider myself a working class person. I just do a different line of work. But I used to work at Taco Bell. I did telemarketing. I worked at a clothing store. Me and my now wife used to work at a clothing store in the mall when we was, teenagers. I did all of those things, but you really get to see what's going on in the world when you have conversations with working class people. They're the ones that can help you keep your boots on the ground.
Let's say we got one of them listening right now. And they get to listen to you, and they've come to the end of this podcast, and you get to send them off. Like, what are you saying to the person who's on their climb, figuring it out? What would be the advice you would give them today? The thought that you would leave them with?
The first thing I would say to them is thank you. I am grateful that you decided to listen to the Codie Sanchez podcast with Charlamagne the God. Thank you. And thank you for, whatever it is that you're doing every day that makes our lives, better. And I would tell them, and the reason I'm saying thank you is because I would tell them, make sure that they have a attitude of gratitude as well. Because, man, when you wake up every day and you are genuinely grateful for where you are, like you say, God, thank you, man. God, I'm so thankful and grateful to be, number one, just alive, but then number two, to be able to do what it is that I'm currently doing. You will constantly get blessed with more. I think that is what truly makes an individual happy, right? When you have true gratitude for where you are in life, at the moment. Like, you can't wake up every day and hate what it is that you do. If you wake up every day and hate what it is that you do, please change what it is that you do. like you have to. Like, you cannot wake up every day and hate what it is that you do, because you're gonna project that negative energy onto everybody. Like, don't be the garbage man with an attitude, right? Don't be the person working at the fast food restaurant with the attitude. And same goes for us. Like, if I wake up every morning with a negative attitude, I'm gonna get on that radio and I'm gonna project that onto the people. And trust me, I've been that before. I've been in that space where I've been that before, and God had to remind me quick, I can take this away from you. You do know that, right? Like, I could take this away from you in 2 seconds. So you asked for this. You prayed for this. This is what you wanted. This is what you worked hard towards. How dare you come up here every morning and project what you got going on, negatively to the people. That's one of the reasons I started going to therapy. And when I started going to therapy back in 2016, I would literally come on the radio and tell everybody that I'm going to therapy every Friday at 3:00. I started talking to the people about what it was I was dealing with, because I owed that to them. They can't turn on the radio and hear me going off on somebody, or hear me maybe badgering somebody in an interview. I'm like, damn, why is this person doing? Why is he coming like that? It might be entertaining to some. Some might be like, what is up with this dude? I started to go do the work on myself because I wasn't happy with what was going on with me internally. And so me coming on the radio and expressing that, to other people and tell people I'm going to therapy and trying to get a handle on my anxiety and bouts of depression and things like that, that became a whole movement of its own. And that just started with me being honest with my listeners and not wanting to take for granted the blessing that God had gave me, because I know he could take it away from me in a heartbeat. And that was 2016. So that was 6 years in the Breakfast Club. We still here 9 years later. I continue to grow. I continue to evolve. So clearly, I did something right.
Last thing for you, like, what should people be following you on this year? I know you're working on a million things, but Like, where should they?
Oh.
Where are you like? I'm fucking excited. Tune into this, people.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Well, The Breakfast Club is coming to Netflix this year.
Yeah.
So
That's
you'll
sick. So open up your TV.
open up your TV. Yeah, like right now, if you can go to Netflix right now, type in Breakfast Club, and you'll see it pop up. I think they say the video podcast start on January 26th, so you can set your reminders for that. And I mean, a lot of people are having conversations about Netflix, and they're saying Netflix is trying to compete with YouTube. I don't think Netflix is necessarily trying to compete with YouTube. I just think Netflix is doing what all of these, streaming platforms are doing. Let's bring on content that people want to watch, and let's just see if we can, get as many eyeballs over here and have them, spending their time and attention, with us. So I just think, it's dope for the podcasting game, right? To see where podcasting has grown and where it's evolved to where, a premium, network like Netflix, wants to have us on. And man, I just hope to do more of that. Like, I want to like sitting here talking to you, you have a hit podcast, but what else does Codie Sanchez want to do? Codie Sanchez might have a scripted show in mind based off her life or something. Codie Sanchez might want to do documentaries. Those are the things that I'm thinking about with all of these streaming platforms. Netflix has gotten the game in a real way. I think Apple should follow suit. I think Peacock should follow suit. I think Amazon should follow suit and just tap in with us, right? These new media personalities who, have a lot of different content and IP that we can bring to the table. So that's one thing, Breakfast Club on Netflix. I also have a book imprint called Black Privilege Publishing, and 2026 is going to be a huge year for us because we have Arsenio Hall's memoir.
Oh, I fucking love him.
Yeah, which comes out in April. He's been one of my entertainment inspirations forever. I have 4 huge entertainment inspirations. It's Jay-Z, Clarence Avant, a radio personality named Petey Green, God bless the dead, and Arsenio Hall. And so it's like a privilege to be publishing his memoir. So that comes out in March, I believe, but you can pre-order his book now. My man 2 Chainz, who you should actually have on this podcast because his business mind, he is, a very, very astute, businessman. Like one of my, business ventures, which is the Crystal franchises that me and my wife have in South Carolina. I got into him because of 2 Chainz. He has
a Crystal franchise.
Crystal is a burger spot.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so they serve like little sliders. Like, so they're like the down south White Castle.
Oh,
and so, he has a role at Crystal. And my man Lil Duval, I saw him one day, because Duval does this thing in his community called Duval Day. And I saw him with all these Crystal burgers. And I'm like, damn, I ain't see Crystal in a minute. Where you get Crystal from? And he was like, yo, 2 Chainz is, working with them now. So I reached out to Chainz and, my guy Technique, that's 2 Chainz partner. And they plugged me right in with my man, Jonathan Childs, who owns the Crystal franchises. So me and my wife ended up doing 6 of them. Salute to my guy Billy as well. And so we got 2 Chainz book coming out. The Voice in My Head is God. That comes out in April. My co-host Jess Hilarious, on the Breakfast Club, she has a book coming out called Till Death Do We Parent. It's a co-parenting book. That comes out this year as well. And we have some other ones that we haven't announced yet, so I can't announce them. But those 3 we've already announced, so you can go pre-order those wherever you buy.
Let's do it.
Books now.
Because pre-orders are so important. It's like, I don't think people realize, like, if you like one, if you like Arsenio, if they like you, if they like Jess, like the best thing, it's such a gift to do a pre-order because all the publishing nonsense you got to get through. So hopefully you guys go buy some of those books.
Pre-orders are important, but I think that they're I'm not going to say they're a tad bit overrated. I think the publishing company puts a little too much emphasis on them.
Yeah.
Because people buy in the moment. People want to buy like
what
right
about
now.
to hit New York Times? Like the shenanigans I had to go through to try to, I was like, don't buy now. Wait 3 seconds. Only from this spot. It's fucking crazy town.
Yeah.
My second book, I'm not doing any of that. No.
I care about selling books more than I care about the list. Because the list is all politics, you know that.
I can't believe they let me on there. I thought for sure, Main Street Millionaire title about boring businesses making money, like
that's what
I'm
people
a
want.
capitalist. Yeah, but they don't. I don't think.
I'll drive myself crazy worrying about stuff like that. Seriously, because you just don't. I don't know how it works. Like it's all politics with all of those lists. So I just want people to go out there, buy the books, learn something from the books. Most importantly, because all of those different books serve different purposes. Arsenio Hall's memoir is just for anybody who grew up on Arsenio and wants to see the ins and outs of Hollywood in the 90s and why he made the decisions that he made, because what he was doing was groundbreaking and revolutionary back then. So if you ever woof, 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 you're going to love that book. 2 Chainz is literally the voice in my head is God. So it's like a spiritual book that shows you, why he made the moves that he made, from child to, now as an adult. And, Jess' book is about co-parenting. It's literally about how her and her, her first baby's father, have had a healthy co-parenting relationship. So we got a lot of different books for a lot of different people.
Oh, I can't wait to read them.
Absolutely.
Charlamagne the God, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cody.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
We are sitting on a generational wealth creation event. If you're here, this means you're a builder. As we're going through these next 3 days, I want you to know that the American dream starts with you guys by our little Main Street revolution.
And then I just want to give you guys permission to take a leap of faith.
If I knew then what I know now, I would probably do bigger deals.
It's given us an extra layer of security that we never would have had.
I am so excited to introduce you to some ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
We have to really take the time to make a meaningful connection. It's the fact that there is a lack of connection and the person just wants to be seen, heard, and understood.
Thanks for taking the question.
Are there extra things that need to be done when trying to pay off bad debt?
Great question.
I buy businesses so simple, even your grandmother understands them. That's the game.
It's you and me versus the problem. We're going to try to solve this together.
I know how to build trust in a very advanced way.
How does buying a business fit into the vision for your life?
Today, my goal is to teach you some fundamental skills that you can use to accelerate your business.
If you make a promise in the mirror, know that your word is freaking iron to you.
These people on Wall Street, they want to keep the normal people out of the game.
Main Street millionaires are all around this world, and it starts with each and every one of you.
What are you waiting for? Your path to ownership starts now. Get your ticket to join us on Main Street. Join us today.
How do I build more energy? How do I get more money? That's not the first question.
If you've ever felt like your attention is scattered, like your energy is depleted, like you're reacting to your life instead of creating it intentionally, this episode is going to be a game changer for you and me. Today's guest is Dandapani, a Hindu priest, entrepreneur, and former monk who left a career in engineering to spend a decade in a monastery. Now he teaches global leaders and some of the biggest athletes in the world how to use your mind to change your life.
Reason shouldn't end where spirituality begins.
If you want practical tools to make sure that the things you want in life you can create, then you should listen closely. What's the most powerful thing you've ever seen happen from someone who truly obsesses on focus? Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. We are growing like crazy, you guys, and we realized over the past few weeks that most of you don't actually subscribe to the show, which is crazy. So if you could do me a favor and double check that you're subscribed, that would mean so much to me. I've been obsessed with making this show something that makes your life better, and this helps us do exactly that. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. All right, let's jump in. What is the 3 stripes?
It's monk Wi-Fi. Good signal to God. 3 lines, 1 line, not so good.
Really?
No, just kidding. So in Hinduism, there are 4 sects, and I belong to the oldest one.
Okay.
And we wear ash representing the 3 lines. The first line represents ego. So a lot of times in spirituality, they say you should not have an ego. Yeah. In the philosophy we subscribe to, we believe everyone has an ego, and the goal is to cultivate a positive ego. So someone who's kind, who's compassionate, who has empathy, industrious, charitable. So that's the first one. It's not get rid of ego, but cultivate a positive ego. And the second one has to do with karma, which is the law of cause and effect, that every thought, word, and deed has a repercussion. So that's 50% of karma. And if you can control your thoughts, your words, your actions, you can control a lot of your outcomes. The second half of karma is your reactions. So if you came up to me and said, Dandapani, your shawl is ugly, I could choose to pinch you or say, what a great opportunity to go shopping. And how I respond also determines my outcome. So by controlling how we act and react, we determine so much of our outcomes in life. And then the third one is delusion, meaning that quite often in life, we get distracted with the things and people that are unaligned with our priorities. So always bringing our focus back to who and what matters. Understanding that life is finite and, it's easy to get distracted with things.
It is. Is it ever hard to be a spiritual person, especially with like such an external representation of it, the marks, the shawl, the beads, in a world where that's not quote unquote normal? Do you ever get self-conscious?
No, because I don't wear this because it's cool. I wear this because I love my culture. I love my tradition. I love my faith. And this is a traditional outfit of a Hindu priest and also Hindu monastic. So it's very hard to tell the difference between monks and priests because they're pretty much dressed the same. But I'm very proud of my culture. So it's hard for people sometimes looking at me and they don't know how to respond.
Interesting.
And they see all this and they go like, oh.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? And for some people, it makes them extremely uncomfortable, and others are very curious and want to know more.
It's one of the things that I liked when I first started following your teachings and got on your app, which I love.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really liked following you because you're of the world as well as, of a spiritual practice. Yeah. And I would aspire to meditate and to do all the things that I read in books from spiritual leaders. But then I'd go back and a company would be losing money and somebody would have stolen from me and fraud would have happened. And it just felt so far away from a monastery. And yet you have kind of chosen to come out and build businesses. Not normal for monks or, do you even call yourself a monk?
No, so I was an ordained Hindu monk, celibate Hindu monk in a cloistered monastery. And then when my vows expired after 10 years, I left the monastery. So now I'm a priest. And in Hinduism, priests are considered householders. So we can get married, have a family, work in McDonald's or be an entrepreneur. And I chose to be an entrepreneur. So this is a traditional way of a Hindu priest. And, now I run my own business and work with entrepreneurs and athletes. And
yeah, but I love that because you bring some of these ideas into everyday life and then you get to practice it too. Yeah. You I'm sure have many moments where an app costs a ton of money to build and then all of a sudden it's not working and then your users hate you, but you're like, wait, I thought I was just, one with God. Like what happened, right?
All of those and a lot more. And I think, Codie, people see the dress and their first perception is that, he lived as a monk, so he's got it all figured out, his focus, his whole day is Zen. BS. I have the same chaos that every entrepreneur has and all the highs and lows and the same struggles that anyone that has a family has. Why would it be different for me? I would say the only difference would be that I was given a set of tools in the monastery and taught how to use those tools and apply it in my life. But that doesn't mean that my life is free of chaos. I have the choice every day to choose whether I want to apply those tools or not. And if I don't apply those tools, then I reap the repercussions. If I apply the tools, then I handle my challenges better.
Yeah, you have an incredible analogy about awareness and the mind, where awareness is a glowing orb and the mind is vast as space. Can you explain that analogy a bit?
I would say of all the things I learned from my guru, that was the most profound thing about the mind. He looked at the mind as a vast space with many different areas. So if you think one area of the mind is happy, joy, sad, food, sex, photography, money, different areas of the mind, and awareness as a glowing ball of light, an orb, and you are pure awareness. You're traveling to different areas of the mind, and wherever awareness goes in the mind, it lights up that area and you become conscious of it. So if awareness goes to the anger area of the mind, it lights up that area and you all of a sudden go, oh, I'm angry. But what you should be saying is, I'm in a place in the mind called anger. I chose to be here. As easily I can remove myself from here and move to another area of the mind. And I give the analogy of a mansion. So imagine a mansion with 100 rooms, and every room is a different state of mind or area of the mind. So one room is anger, one room's happiness, one room's jealousy. I walk in the mansion, I'm pure awareness. I climb up the stairs, walk down the hallway, I open the door, I go into the angry room, and I close the door behind me. And I am in rage. I come out of the room, I walk down the hallway, I open another room, I enter that room, I'm in the room of happiness. And once you realize that you're not the mind, rather your awareness moving within the mind, now you have a choice every day to either choose where you want to go or allow your environment, the people and things around you, to dictate where you want to go. So if you said to me my shawl was ugly, I could let you take my ball of light to an angry area of the mind, and I go like, Cody, how could you say that to me? Or I could go like, I should go shopping, you know? Yeah. Monkshawls.com, see what they have.
I think your shawl's lovely, for the record.
Thank you.
We're actually kind of matching.
Yeah,
maybe I did that
nice.
subconsciously.
I like it. So that's the key, right? The key is to control awareness. And every time throughout the whole day, regardless of what's going on in your family, your business, your awareness is perpetually moving in your mind. And if you can control where it goes, you can control how you react and respond to a situation. For me, the way I practice is I look at my whole day as my gym, my mental gym. When I'm talking to an employee who's not doing something I told them to do, or something's going on with the business, or whatever it is, every moment I have the choice to choose where my awareness goes. And if someone does something to take my awareness to a different area of the mind, then I go, okay, my ball of light's going to an area of the mind I don't want it to go. I'm going to grab it with my willpower and bring it back here. And I'm going to stay here and choose not to go there. You know, I flew here yesterday, and it's a classic example. My flight got delayed, and everyone's in the plane, was sitting for an hour, and you could see people's awareness going to the frustrated area of the mind. You know, like, what's going on? Why are we still sitting here? And I saw my ball of light wanting to go there, and I had to just bring it back and go, like, I don't need to go there. I can choose to be somewhere else.
One of the other things you talk about that I love is willpower.
Yeah.
And there's many examples from your work that I like, but can you talk about even the way you define willpower and how important it is? It's not something that I hear a lot of spiritual people talk about. And so can you talk a little bit about if somebody wants to increase their willpower, what do they do and how do you define it?
So I would define willpower as mental muscle. If I could draw biceps around my mind, that would be my willpower. You know, a very simplified definition of it. So every time my ball of light drifted away, I would use these biceps, grab that ball of light and drag it back here and say, don't go there, right? And you can go there. And it's not about avoiding that place. It's choosing when I want to engage with that situation. So for example, if I had a fight with Joe about something, an argument with Joe, if I didn't control my ball of light, my awareness would perpetually be going to that every 2 minutes, like, can't believe he said that. I keep typing, and it's like, oh, he's such an idiot. Keep typing. And those are called mental arguments, and people have mental arguments in their head all day long. But when you develop willpower, every time that ball of light drifts there, you just grab it and bring it back. And there are 3 ways to develop willpower. Finish what you begin, do a little bit more than you think you can, and do it a little bit better than you think you can. And for me, the easiest way to bring practices into our life, you know, a lot of spiritual people will tell you, wake up in the morning, do yoga, breathe, do your cold plunge and this and that. It's hard when you have a family, when you have a business. But the way I look at it is, if you look at your day and you ask yourself, what are the non-negotiable reoccurring events in your day? Every day I sleep. It's non-negotiable and it reoccurs. So how can I take the practice and insert it into that event? So every night before I go to sleep, I floss, I brush my teeth, put my pajamas on, I go to bed. When I wake up, I make the bed in the morning. I finish what I begin. I make the bed a little bit better than I think I can. I do a little bit more than I think I can. Maybe I double fold the comforters, like do the 4 seasons, or, fluff the pillows. And that is not about making the bed. It's about developing willpower so that I can control where my ball of light goes in my mind.
I loved when you talked about the dishes, because the dishes I hate to do. I hate to do the dishes. I hate them categorically. And I think when I first started listening to you a few years ago, you had told the same story about if you're going to do the dishes, I want you to start it and finish it. Yeah. We don't do it halfway. And then how could you do it a little bit better? Clean the crystal, put put it away when you're done. And what's fascinating is in our companies now, it sort of has imbued this idea of how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes.
And that we are the type of people here who start something and finish it well, and we're no better than the janitor. We clean up our own mess.
Absolutely.
And so now it's a big pet peeve, and everybody here knows it, whenever I see dishes in the sink. It's like, we don't do that here. We're not that type of person. Yeah. And that sort of like ripples.
Yes.
And so I loved that teaching from you, so small, everybody can do it, and yet kind of profound.
It is. And, like my daughter, we live in Costa Rica and, we don't wear our shoes in our house. So when we come back, we take our flip-flops off and leave it outside. And my daughter used to just, she's 6 and she kicks it to the side. And, I've taught her like, okay, let's finish the process of going out. When we take our flip-flops off, let's just arrange it nicely before we go in. That's going to take an extra 3 seconds. But now it becomes part of a ritual. And the goal really at the end of the day, Cody, it's like, how do we take the key tools that we have in our life that are aligned with what we want to create and integrate them into the rituals that exist in our life. Because if I told you to wake up tomorrow morning and meditate and do yoga and breathe, you're going to go like, I don't have time for this, right? But every day you have a cup of coffee. Every day you sit in front of your computer. Every day you talk to somebody. What if you brought those tools into your daily rituals, those mundane little things? Now your whole day becomes a practice. And by the time you go to bed, you've been practicing for 10 hours, developing willpower, practicing focus, and all these other things, managing your energy. And that's a much better approach than to wake up in the morning, meditate for half an hour, and then spend the remaining 15 hours running around like a head-cut chicken, and thinking, okay, I did my morning meditation, I had my matcha, or whatever you had to drink, and then the rest of the day you just go crazy. That doesn't help.
That was such a good point. I was at this is a little judgy, which I shouldn't, but I was sitting at a coffee shop the other day, and I was watching these 2 people who had obviously come back from Burning Man. Yeah. And, and they were like well-dressed, but still had their dusty boots on. And so I was kind of chuckling about that. And then I'm judgy. Yeah. And so anyway, but what was so funny is they blessed their meal, which I thought was really nice, but it was like a prolonged blessing, it was like, and we're feeling it and we're feeling it. So I'm sitting there going, well, this is different. And then
were you with them?
No, I was being a voyeur from another table.
Yes, I like it.
And then, and they were talking really broadly about spirituality. Oh, the universe and everything's connected and it's all love and we have to bless our food. And then the door swings open and the woman's chair is like a little close to the door. So the door hits her and she's like, watch what you're doing. What's going on? Like that. And so I just had this whole thing happen here of watching this moment of you could bless the thing, you could meditate in the morning, but then you lose your practice. Yeah. And so like, how could you bring it throughout the day? I think is really beautiful. Not just when you're at a peak event like Burning Man or even church on Sunday.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved to New York, I knew a yoga teacher there and she said, come to my class. So I said, okay. She said, come to my apartment and then we'll walk over together. And I went to her apartment and she was running around finding her stuff. Where's my keys? I can't find my keys. Put her shoes on, her dog. It was just chaos. And she's like walking really fast down the sidewalk with me, getting to the yoga studio. She gets in there, she sits down, puts her mat, and then she sits in front. She's teaching the class. And all of a sudden she turned into this Zen person, And I went like, but all that minutes prior was chaos. So for me, it's not about the 10 minutes in the morning or the 20 minutes. It's like, how do you bring this into your daily life? Yeah. And people can do the food blessing and can look great in a yoga class for 10 minutes or an hour. What's the remaining 23 hours, huh? And the way I look at it, Cody, is an analogy. You probably heard of Usain Bolt. Yeah. Right. I don't know anything about this man. I know he's from Jamaica. He won gold medals, fastest man on earth. His 100 meters is 9.56 seconds or something. I would assume that he trains every day when he was running, does weights, eats properly, stretches. His whole day is preparing him from 9.56 seconds, not 9.56 seconds preparing him for the whole day. And most spiritual people will look at their life. If I meditate for 10 minutes in the morning, I journal, that's going to set me up for the day. The way my guru trained me was the complete opposite. Your whole day is the practice that prepares you for the morning meditation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So don't look at the morning practice as the most important thing, but rather look at integrating the practice throughout the whole day.
Interesting. Yeah. I also want to talk about focus because you are, very big on that as well. What have you seen? Maybe we start by defining it again because I know you like to do that. And then I think that's smart. We do it in business. I never think about it in this spiritual practice.
It just creates a shared vocabulary and understanding, right? And then when we say the word focus, everybody in the room knows what it means.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's today we were talking about it in work in a different way. And I was saying, well, when somebody goes above and beyond and does extra work, we want to recognize them. And then I paused and was like,
Wait, I should define above and beyond.
Yes.
Because
it means different things to different people.
Right. And I don't just want somebody working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on stuff that doesn't matter. And then that's above and beyond. And so then we have to define it. Well, above and beyond in this instance means something that drives meaningful revenue or views, let's say, on a video. And if it doesn't do those two things, it's actually not meaningful work. It could just be busy work. So I'd love you to define focus. And then also tell me, what's the most powerful thing you've ever seen happen from someone who truly obsesses on focus?
Mm-hmm. So I would define focus, going back to awareness in the mind and the ball of light. Focus is my ability to keep my awareness on you without it wavering. Mm-hmm. So if I'm talking to you and my ball of light drifts away, I'm getting distracted. If I can keep my ball of light, my awareness on you the entire time, I'm in a state of focus. Mm. So most people are always physically present. We're physically present with each other, but mentally absent. Because how many times have you been in a conversation with someone, talking to them, and they go, huh? And you know they're completely checked out. Their awareness is somewhere else, but they're looking at you going, right? And you just go like, and then people ask, where are you? The right answer is, I'm right in front of you. But the proper question is, where's your awareness? Mm. They go, oh, honey, it left the moment you started talking, because that's what happens. And how do you know? My guru had this beautiful saying, where awareness goes, energy flows. So if my awareness is on you, my energy is flowing towards you, you feel my energy. Now, if I ask you a question and you respond, and I start listening to the first few words, and then my awareness drifts away and go, I wonder what I should have for lunch today. But I'm looking at you and nodding, and my awareness goes somewhere else. That's where my energy is flowing. Mm. You no longer feel my energy, and you go, where are you? Mm. So that's just to clarify what focus means. The greatest thing I would probably see coming out of focus, is from my guru. He had an amazing control over his ball of light in his mind. If you look at the mind in a simplified way, Cody, you could look at it as a 3-story building. The bottom floor is the conscious mind, the external mind, where it's tied to our 5 senses, and it's the world we live in, phone calls and emails and everything. The second floor is the subconscious. It's the storehouse of memory, information, habit patterns. And then the third floor is what my guru would refer to as the superconscious mind. It's the source of intuition, creativity, higher spiritual minded things. Only through a focused state can you take your ball of light from the first floor through the second floor to the third floor. And once you go to the third floor, you need to have so much willpower to hold that ball of light there in order to experience that state of mind. So imagine if I picked up a 1,000-page book and I just flipped through the pages, I would read nothing, right? But if I took a 1,000-page book, I opened it up and I held my gaze on one page and went through every sentence, I would be able to read it. So a lot of people may be able to go into the superconscious area of the mind, this deeply spiritual, intuitive area, so briefly, and it feels wonderful, and they come out of it. Mm. But the key is to be able to go in there, remain in a state of unwavering focus long enough that you can actually experience it in a profound way. Because if not, all you're doing is just fanning through the pages of a book and you never read anything. The only way I can get that experience is if I stay on the page and read every single word slowly. So I would say that would be the greatest experience of focus, is the ability to take awareness, go to that superconscious area of the mind, stay there for an extended period of time, and truly experience your highest state of mind.
What does it feel like when you go there? Is that when you get lost in something that you're doing that you love? How would somebody know if they've done that?
It's not a binary experience. I will look at it as layers. So I can go out and feel the sun's rays on me. But if I went 1,000 miles closer towards the sun, I probably maybe feel a little warmer. I'm assuming, I don't know anything about this. Or if I go 10,000 more miles, I'd feel more of the sun. The superconscious is that way as well. It's layered. If you enter the fringes of the superconscious area of the mind, the fringes of the third floor, you feel a sense of, the first sign of the awakening of that superconscious is observation. People become more observant. That's when someone becomes more observant, you know they're starting to go into the superconscious area of the mind. That's the first sign of the awakening of the superconscious. Another sign is good timing. I knew when I lived in New York for 11 years, I could tell if my awareness was in the third floor or not by how long I waited for the subway. My wife would say to me, you have good timing. And she would always get this up with me, because if I walked up the stairs, got on the platform, if I waited longer than 15 seconds, I was not in the superconscious area of the mind. And I would be at home in my apartment working, and my intuition would say, leave now to get ready for your meeting. And I'll say, just one more email, then I'm out of sync. But if I was obedient to that, I would have good timing. So those are two things: observation, good timing. And as you go deeper and deeper, Cody, you experience the very essence of who you are, which is a soul that is pure energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed, has always existed. You start to tap into a part of you that you realize, okay, I am energy. Everything is made up of energy. Energy can never be created, which means I've always existed. Energy can be transformed from one thing to another, law of thermodynamics. So I am transforming, evolving, but in essence, I'm pure energy. And as you start to go into that, you feel a great sense of love and compassion and peace. But it's not a one-time experience. Can you have one success in business and say you're a successful entrepreneur? No. You have to do it over and over again. So the key is to repeatedly have awareness go into the superconscious mind every day till that permeates your entire being, and that becomes your default of who you are. Same way you would see a seasoned entrepreneur who's gone through all the highs and lows, and he or she at that point knows how to ride this out. They can handle difficult times because they know what to do. It's 30 years, 40 years of this. And the mystic is no different as well. He or she has gone into the superconscious so much that it's become a part of their being now.
Do you notice a difference about people who are very worldly successful? Do they carry themselves differently? Have they done this practice a different way? Is there anything that you've noticed from some of the most influential people you've ever worked with, spoken with? I would say two things. They have a lot of clarity of what they want and a tremendous amount of desire to get it. I had the good fortune of working with one of the top soccer players in the world for 3 years, for 3 seasons. And he knew crystal clear in his mind what he wanted to achieve. And the desire he had for it was unparalleled. I'd seen monks with it, and he really, really wanted it. So the combination of knowing what you want and having that intense desire for it helps you to get there. So most people don't really know what they want and then don't really have a desire for it. They try and then they give up. But you have to want it more than life itself. When I met my guru before I joined the monastery, I told him what I wanted in life, which was enlightenment. And he asked me, what are you willing to do for it? I was in college then. I said, I'm willing to give up my life. And I joined his monastery and, in my early 20s. And I didn't speak to my family again, my friends, had 3 meals a day and didn't talk to relatives, didn't do all the things that everybody in the world does. Because I was willing to give up everything in my life to pursue this. And that's what I see in some of the most successful entrepreneurs and athletes. They want that and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get it. How long did you give up everything for when you were in the monastery?
10 years.
So you didn't speak to your family for 10 years?
In the early years, you got to talk to them twice a year, like on a phone call. So no emails, no letters. You get like a 30-minute call and call your mom and dad.
So at one point you're in school. Yeah. You have a defined career path too. Were you going to be an engineer? What was that?
I did electrical engineering.
Yeah. So you're an electrical engineering college student. I mean, I remember what I was like in college. Not that was not a direction I could have ever imagined.
No,
What was the moment that you were like, I'm going to go dedicate 10 years of my life to enlightenment?
I wanted to be a monk since I was 4 or 5 years old. And I was looking for a teacher that could teach me. And I met many wonderful monks and gurus along the way. But none of them, they all said inspiring things, but none of it I felt was practical and relevant to my life. They talked about big ideas and big concepts, and they talk about the mind and use words I couldn't wrap my head around. It wasn't until I met my guru that I found, for the first time ever, a monk that could articulate the goal for me, the path to the goal, the spiritual goal, the philosophy, to ensure you're actually making progress. What are your KPIs on the spiritual path, right? Because if you don't have that, I remember him saying to me one day, Dandapani, if you meditate every day and after 6 months you're still a jerk, you're probably doing the wrong practice. You're not making progress, right? So most people don't review their progress to see if there's any change. He made me monitor and measure my spiritual unfoldment to know that I'm making traction down the path, and share with me tools that I could integrate in my life rather than just high-minded philosophies and concepts that sound so wonderful, but in real life weren't relevant.
So you leave, how old are you?
I was 23 and a half, 24.
Okay. So you leave and you go move where?
To Kauai in Hawaii, yeah.
And you live in a monastery for 10 years?
Traditional cloistered monastery as a celibate monk under vows.
What does cloistered mean?
Means it's closed off that guests could only come in to visit, like between 9 and 12 in the morning, and then the gates closed, and only monks under vows live within it. So there's a lot of modern day play pretend monasteries nowadays where you can come and go whenever you want and go for the weekend and say, oh, I lived as a monk for a weekend. Like, okay. But this is like the real deal. You go and you take vows and you follow a traditional path that's, philosophy that's over thousands of years old.
And what would a day look like?
We woke up early. I usually wake up around between 4 and 4:15 in the morning. And, we'd have meditation in the morning with 10 rituals, traditional Hindu rituals. We'd had to exercise half an hour a day. We only had 3 meals a day, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, no snacking in between. And the monastery was divided into 5 groups. So one group of monks took care of desktop publishing. We put all our content in books and online, so monks had to learn, Adobe InDesign and Photoshop and edit movies and Final Cut Pro and all that kind of stuff. Another group of monks took care of the endowments. They did all the financial stuff. My guru he had a beautiful relationship with money. And I really loved that about him, because when I was growing up, people would say to me, if you want to be spiritual, then you shouldn't pursue money. Money's bad. Money is the root of all evil. Whereas he looked at money as a beautiful thing that we could spread around like fertilizer and make things grow, is what he said. So the monks were divided into different groups, and and then our day ended at 9 o'clock at night, and we went to bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know how I'm always saying stop waiting, start owning? Most people never even get to the starting line because they're drowning in the setup. Websites, logos, emails, social posts. It's like they're building a business in their heads instead of the real world. That's where GoDaddy Aero comes in. And let me tell you, total game changer. You just punch in a few prompts and bam, you've got a website, a logo, even your first marketing posts. It's like a whole tech team in your back pocket, minus the payroll. What used to take weeks, now it's minutes. And that means you can skip the busy work and get straight to the good stuff, actually growing your business. So if you got an idea collecting dust, stop overthinking it. Go make it real. Check out GoDaddy Aero at the link below and start building today. No excuses. You guys, I'm doing something absolutely wild. I am throwing the biggest event on business ownership we've ever thrown. And every single person that comes will get something worth $1,177, which is actually crazy. And I'm not talking about like courses or online videos that I put a fake price tag on. I mean, this is real value, really priced at that you get from attending this event. So if you are into business, you're going to want to be there, and everybody will leave with a pack of goodies. Just call me Santa. See you at msm.live. You said, you had this saying that I loved, which you kind of hit on a little bit. You've said, problems are meant to be resolved as quickly as possible and not to be carried on gruelingly through life.
Yeah.
Can you talk about this?
Yeah. Going back to the 3 states of mind, if you and I had an argument and we don't resolve it, we have it now in the conscious mind. And once we walk away, that problem gets registered in the subconscious, which is the second floor. We talked about the second floor. The more problems we have unresolved in the second floor, the more cluttered the second floor becomes. The superconscious intuition lives in the third floor. For intuition to go to the conscious mind on the first floor where we can cognize it, it needs to go through the second floor. And if the second floor is cluttered, intuition can't come through. So most people don't like to resolve problems because it involves facing it, accepting it, owning it, having a conversation about it, resolving it. And it's painful and uncomfortable. So as monks, our goal is to live more intuitively rather than intellectually, because our intuition never ever guides us wrong. And the more cluttered the second floor is with unresolved things from our past, and it's harder for intuition to come through. A simple analogy would be this. Imagine the sun as the third floor, the superconscious mind, the sky as the subconscious, and the ground, the earth, as the conscious mind. In order for the sun's rays to hit the ground, it needs to go through the sky. If the sky is really cloudy, filled with unresolved clouds, rays of light don't get through. If it's a clear sky, you get this beautiful sun rays. So the sky would be the subconscious mind. When it's filled with clouds and the rays of light coming from the superconscious mind never gets through. So the idea of resolving things as quickly as possible, especially before you go to bed at night with a spouse, is a great. The monks had that practice. So if monks had arguments, which my guru was totally fine with monks arguing with each other, the only rule in the monastery was that you had to go resolve it before you went to bed at night.
So do you think you should fight when you're angry with someone?
I think if it's with a partner, a spouse, or even a business partner, relation, whatever it is, it's fine as long as you set up the guideline that we can have a heated argument, walk away, have a few hours by ourselves to calm down, but we will get together before the day ends and sit down and resolve this. So in the monastery, there was a big mango tree with some seats under it. And that's where we would go and resolve the problems. When you see two monks sitting under the mango tree, they're resolving a problem. So, if you had that rule, it's normal to have misunderstandings, even if you're a spiritual person. So as long as you plan to resolve it, then you're not taking it to bed with you.
How do you make the clouds move? How do you unclutter the second floor? You resolve things in the day, but what about all the historical stuff that's already up there? What is the practice to see the sun again?
You cannot see what's in the second floor if you cannot focus. Because if I can't sit down quietly in a chair, not meditating, in a state of self-reflection, just looking inside of me, if I start to do this and after 5 seconds I go, what should I have for lunch? Is my phone ringing? Should I answer that? Oh, I had a text come in. Maybe he's trying to reach me. He was trying to reach me all day. I should really get back to him. And that's the conversation most people have. But if I can focus, I can hold my awareness on my second floor long enough to see everything in my mind. That's the first step, focus. Focus allows you to see what's in there. The second step is having extreme levels of self-empathy and compassion, looking at yourself as a product of evolution. So the way I look at myself is I look at myself as a building under construction. If you've ever been to a construction site, you see rebar and concrete and broken glass, and you never complain because you go like, well, they're still building. There's shit lying everywhere, right? But if you go to Tiffany's and you see a broken glass, there'd be 5 people around it and say, oh, we're cleaning this up. Don't come here. There's broken glass. So when I look at myself and I see the mess in my second floor and the good parts, I go, this is me. I am a product of evolution. I am a building under construction. I'm not done yet. There's still work being done. And I can accept that. I can own that. Now it takes all that pressure off me to be something that I'm not. I can accept myself for who I am and where I am in my evolution. Now I identify what's the biggest thing in my subconscious that I want to resolve, because the biggest thing that basically is influencing me in a way that's unaligning me from my purpose. So the willpower, bring it into your daily life. Finish what you begin. The coffee cups, the shoes, clean your desk before you go home at night, put everything away. The focus, every time you speak with someone, give them your undivided attention. Keep your ball of light on them. It drifts away, bring it back. It drifts away, bring it back. And if you just practice this all day long, you become good at it. Now you have willpower and you have focus. You can start to reflect and identify what's inside of you that you need to adjust. And if we don't do the work on ourselves, we'll never be the person we need to be to achieve what we want to be, because we don't have those skills to match the goals we have.
Yeah, I really like that.
I am the biggest obstacle in my life.
Me too.
To my business, my relationships, in everything I do. So I don't worry so much about fixing a lot of the external things. I need to fix me. And the more I fix me, the better I am at every part of my life.
Does that work for everybody if they focus on willpower, energy, and focus?
Absolutely, yes. Because there are standard. It's like if everybody in this room went to the gym and lifted weights, we'd all start to get muscle. It doesn't matter who the person is or what gender they are, they'd all start to get weights. Start to build muscle, right? So when you start to do these things, you'll start to see you become more observant. Well, the first thing you do is you start to see more of your stuff inside of you. And that's when people stop doing the work because it makes them so uncomfortable that they go, this is too ugly. And you know, one of the byproducts of actually meditating is seeing what's in your subconscious. Because if I stay still, I close my eyes, I don't move, I regulate my breath, my conscious mind starts to get shut down, the first floor. Now my second floor becomes the dominant floor. And now I see what's in my subconscious. I remember the first year in the monastery, we'd meditate together, the monks, for an hour. And if I had a really good meditation, I knew the rest of my day is crappy. Because all the stuff in my second floor was being shown to me, or I started to see. And then the rest of the day, I go, I'm a terrible human being. I'm a really bad monk, you know?
Wow.
So most people think when you meditate, it's bliss. But in order to get to the third floor where the bliss is, you have to go through the second floor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it does make sense. You go to the gym, you work out, you know you're going to be sore afterwards if you did it right.
Yes.
If you pushed yourself.
Another example, just to make this clearer, if you've ever been to a bar and seen someone who's drunk, when someone gets drunk, they're shutting down the conscious mind. The conscious mind gets dull, the first floor. The second floor becomes dominant. Now they start saying things that they were thinking, oh, your sweater looks ugly. I was like, I didn't mean to say that, right?
Yeah.
So that's a similar thing. So meditation and getting drunk are a little bit similar and shutting down the first floor, and then the second floor becomes dominant. And you start to see what's in people's mind. And that's why when you're having drinks with people at a dinner party or something and someone's had 3 or 4 drinks, you start to tell very quickly what's on their mind. Because there's no filter and they just start saying things. And you go like, oh, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, one of my favorite mentors in business always said he won't do a deal with somebody until he's had a few cocktails with them.
Exactly, yes. In traditional monasteries, in certain monasteries, monks would drink. They would sit around a table on the ground and the guru would pour a little bit of like mead, honey mead for everyone, and they'd take a drink. And after 2, 3 drinks, the monks are going like, this place of food is terrible. Like, oh, that's good to know. Whereas they normally wouldn't say it, having not had a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
It's a great way to tell what's in someone's mind.
You know, I want to talk a little bit about energy.
Yeah.
You've talked about treat energy the same way you treat money.
Yes.
It's a finite resource that needs to be managed wisely and invested. Can you expand on how someone can manage their energy and invest it properly?
Yeah. So the simple way to manage energy, I would say, take every principle you know on finance, on how you manage money, and apply it to energy. Create a budget. Do we evaluate every